or something. And even since King 5 did this report at 435, the price is up to 437 in Washington state. We're not, I mean, the truth is we're not seeing that big of a difference right now around the country. But I expect that is going to change. It's going to go up. But dare I say there is a solution to this, at least here in Washington, that no matter how long the spike, survives, could actually help. You know how the governor, Bob Ferguson, has been pushing a tax holiday as a bribe to get you to support his unconstitutional income tax? He could offer, or at least push the legislature to offer a gas tax holiday. And you can make the legislation just last a month. Just say for the next month, we're giving you a gas tax holiday, or we are giving you a Climate Commitment Act tax holiday. He could do that, but he's not going to, because that doesn't serve his political agenda. He's got an agenda when it comes to the income tax, and so he's willing to give you a bribe. When it comes to the environment, he's willing to charge you even more because that is part of his political agenda. But when it comes to saving you a little bit of money, no interest. So he's not even going to bring this up. Isn't that a good idea, though? If you could legislatively, for a month, get rid of at least a portion of the gas tax, why not do it? Because the higher the price of gas is right now, the more momentum they have to criticize the president and then dismiss the reality as to why prices in Washington state are as high as they are. He doesn't want to get blamed for high gas prices, and this is his opportunity. And again, in fairness, it's not like what's going on in Iran isn't going to impact the price of gas. I will say, remember when we were told that the only reason we took out Maduro was for all of the oil in Venezuela? Mm-hmm. Well, if that were the case, we wouldn't see a spike at all, because Venezuela has more than enough oil to put into the market, certainly in the short term, to disrupt any potential surge. Now, the ironic part is I don't think it was done purely for oil. It's naive to say oil doesn't play any role in what happened in Venezuela, but it might actually come to the rescue of the United States. And we didn't engage in a regime change. It's the same regime in charge in Venezuela, despite all the belly aching coming from the left. I anticipate we're going to benefit at least a little bit from the Venezuelan oil situation right now. At least a little bit. And that might mean instead of gas prices going up at the pump, 20 cents, it goes up 10 cents. I don't know. I'm speculating. But I am willing to bet that it plays a little bit of a role. Just don't fall for the left-wing media outlets putting this all on Iran. Iran plays a role, no doubt. Also playing a role, no doubt, Climate Commitment Act. Should be noted. Meanwhile, Nicholas Kristof, who tried to run for governor in Oregon, but then realized he had to actually live in Oregon in order to run for governor. I
totally forgot about that.
Do you remember? Oh, my God. This guy. And he announced his candidacy and everything. And they were like, dude, you don't live here. You can't run for governor in Oregon. So he's a New York Times columnist. He's on MS Now as a contributor. And he had an interesting hot take after the weekend events in Iran. And by interesting, I mean stupid.
They're certainly not more free right now. I mean, I've got to say that I think a lot of Iranians, and I've heard this from Iranians I know in the country, that, some of them
How many Iranians do you think he knows? Seriously, he knows no Iranian.
Are hopeful. It is a fiercely nationalistic country, suspicious of outside intervention, but Iranian.
Okay, so he's so full of it. They are very, very, very pro-West. Very pro-West. Not all of them. And there's a generational divide. The older you are in Iran, the more likely you are to be a hardliner versus some of the younger people. But they don't even hate Jews as much as people might believe just because of that region of the world.
Many Iranians, at least, are, so frustrated with misrule by the Ayatollahs that some are welcoming the strikes. But
they were celebrating in the streets. There were tens of thousands taking to the streets to get to this point risking their lives, 30,000 plus losing their lives.
Again, we saw something a little bit similar to that at the opening days of the Iraq War. We saw something similar to that in the opening days of the attack on Libya. And things may work out, but but there are certainly real risks ahead. And so I feel for the Iranians because they've just suffered these brutal massacres, but it's not at all obvious to me that a war with Iran is going to improve things for those Iranians.
Well, that's because you're an idiot if you actually think that. That you're on the record saying it's unclear if the Iranian people are better off without Ayatollah Ali Khamenei in charge, suggests you don't know anything about the region. Now, it's obviously true that things could revert back to oppressive leadership, right? That's undeniably true. But this idea that I don't even understand how anyone can look at this and say something positive can come out of it. I'm just scratching my head. Really? That's your position? That's your position? You claim in this country because a toddler isn't immediately affirmed as trans that shows some sort of oppression. But in Iran, you have no belief that without the ruling class and the ability now of the Iranian people to choose a leader, actually choose a leader, things might get that will not work. Backing someone who ends up getting the job is different, but installing is different. The Iranian people need to, and we're going to make it so that they have an easier time, but we can't do it for them. Our interests, getting rid of their nuclear capabilities or their future nuclear capabilities, ending their military power to the degree that it is. Navy is pretty much naval military is the only way that they can do anything of damage, really. And ensuring that they're no longer a state sponsor of terror around the country. Those are our objectives, and we're meeting those. Choosing the leader, up to the Iranian people. One of two things can happen. Number one, they end up getting someone installed as part of the previous regime, and things don't change. They're as bad next year as they were for the last several decades, right? That's the worst case. Nothing changes. Or they get someone in power who does change everything and westernizes their form of government, and women have rights again. And people aren't subject to a ruling class that uses violence and oppression against all political enemies to get rid of any kind of dissent. That seems to me as a positive. Don't know which one it's going to go in.
You think all the feminists would love what happened over the weekend. But...
Yeah, but they're not really feminists, are they?
No.
They're not feminists at all. I saw some of the feminist groups posting flyers on their social media accounts screaming about long live the Iranian regime. Like, really? Just disgusting. But the reality is, I'm not going to pretend like we know what's going to happen moving forward because it's not within our control. We gave an opening, taking advantage of a vulnerability from the Iranian leadership, but we gave the power to the degree that we can to the Iranian people to make their own decisions. They have an exiled prince who's calling for open elections. There is the minority leadership in Iran that is also capable of stepping forward. I don't know if they're going to win. I'm not going to pretend to be an expert in Iranian politics, but I do know that the people want this change. They've wanted this change for a while. Tens of thousands died for this change, and now they have an opportunity. And they only have this opportunity because of President Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu finally doing what we've been talking about doing for decades. Not giving over pallets of cash to the Ayatollah and then pretending that was somehow a success. That the pod bros are upset with this, that anyone from Team Obama is upset with this, tells you what we're doing is working and what we're doing was wise. But there are some people who are scared about what's going to happen next, and that's normal. Anxious. There is a professor named Arya Fani of Persian and Iranian studies at the UW. He spoke with Como, worried about his family in Iran, but is getting through it with other Iranian Americans.
I was sick to my stomach. I woke up, tried to call my 85-year-old aunt who lives in Tehran, and I'm just so worried for her. I've called, I've texted, nothing. Reassure each other, exchange messages of love and support. I feel very supported by my community.
Okay, but are you happy with what happened? Professor talking to Como?
This regime does not pose a threat to the United States, does not pose a threat to Israel. The only danger it poses is to its own people.
Okay.
And we're punishing those very people.
So you're an idiot. Again, I don't like to just easily throw out that term, but to say that they don't pose a threat to the United States, okay. To say they don't pose a threat to Israel, I think we know where this dude stands. Just say, they don't pose a threat to Israel? Can you remind me who was financially supporting Hamas? Who was providing weaponry to Hamas?
Iran and Hezbollah too.
But that's like the Pizzagate conspiracy, right? That's not been confirmed?
I think it's pretty confirmed as
It's
seen on
common
October
knowledge.
7th. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But he just said that they don't the current regime doesn't pose any threat to any. At least he acknowledged they pose a threat to the Iranian people. I will give him that. He can't quite side with Jews. Like, he can't say anything that might give off the impression that he's supportive of Israel, I guess. I have no idea who this guy is, but I'm praying that Como took him out of context and it was a bad edit. And they spliced together two completely separate parts of the interview to give off the impression that he just said what he just said. In fact, let's listen to see if we can even hear that hard edit.
This regime does not pose a threat to the United States, does not pose a threat to Israel.
No, that was pretty clean. I don't think that was edited. What the hell is he talking about? Seriously, what is he talking about? How does he say something like that? And we're supposed to just take that seriously?
I mean, one of the very first actions of the regime was taking Americans hostage. So,
Okay, stop it with your little tidbits and factoids that conflict with the talking point from this lunatic. Stop that. What didn't we talk about that?
sorry.
Gosh,
It's just like a reflex, you know.
I don't know. I get it. Find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Let's get political.
Washington Democrats don't ever seem to miss a chance to warn us about authoritarianism. They do this all the time. They tell us that democracy is in peril because of the fascist President Donald Trump, blah, 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 blah. They tell us democracy is under siege. They clutch their pearls about Trump the dictator. They melt down, however, when Republicans have the audacity in Olympia to stand up and say, we don't like the direction of your budget. Julia Reed is a state representative from Seattle, very clearly a Democrat. And she threw a tantrum online as the Democrats over the weekend were pushing forward with their insane budget, their unconstitutional income tax scheme, which they're relying on for this new budget. Something, by the way, that on the budget side, they passed in the House over the weekend. It was Saturday night. But she took to Blue Sky, which is the place where unhinged and lonely Democrats go in order to stay in their echo chamber. And she did this long thread responding to Republicans who had the audacity to debate and offer amendments. And it was so telling. Her just stream of silly that was coming out of her fingers, I guess. She said, starting off the 20-plus Republican amendments on this bill. Since Republicans don't have the ability to stop the budget bill, this debate is their chance to air their grievances, conspiracy theories, and try to force us into disingenuous roll call votes they can clip to make us look bad. I like that Republicans proposing amendments is framed as airing grievances. That, to me, is kind of funny. I love it how she says voting on these amendments, voting on the record, is like a trap. That accountability is somehow inconvenient to entitled, petulant state representatives like Reed. This idea that the Republicans are only forcing amendments to make the Democrats look bad, it feels like you fail, State Representative Reed, to recognize that your own statements, your own attitude, your own ideological rigidity is doing most of the work for you. That Republicans don't have to work that hard on this. They honestly don't. It's their passion that's pushing them to work hard, and maybe their misplaced belief that not everyone like Julia Reed is just a dumpster fire of a Democrat. But at one point she posts a snide remark against Travis Couture, who was fighting for funding for kids who are dying of drug overdoses by being left vulnerable by DCYF. And she was all upset about that. That's pretty disgusting. But it's this attitude. Just imagine for a moment, Reed and the Democrats have the legislative majority. And yet they're still whining about amendments that are taking up, 10 minutes at a time? Just 10 minutes? You are annoyed, Julia Reed, at us peasants speaking out of turn, speaking out against your abuse of power. They created a spending crisis. The Washington Democrats created this crisis, and now they're using that crisis to justify new taxes. And the second anyone says anything, she gets upset. They've got the votes. They can defeat absolutely everything. And they're saying, given that we have the votes, do we really even need to hear from the opposition? Yes, in a democracy, it requires debate and recorded votes. So yes, you actually do. It requires opposition voices, even if you don't like it. That is part of a functioning democracy. But she doesn't want a democracy. She wants just total control. And they act to get total control. That's how they've been acting.
Wait, I'm confused. I thought they loved democracy.
No. Unless they're redefining democracy like they redefine women.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that might be a problem. The arrogance here, it's baffling to me that she thought she would come off well by putting it in writing. Maybe because it's on Blue Sky, she didn't think anyone would notice. And at one point during this thread on Blue Sky, she comments about how, I see the House Republicans found my thread. So you're live tweeting essentially, or what is it? Live bluing? Blue skying? How do you do it?
Live skying? I don't know.
Live blue skying? Maybe she didn't think anyone was going to catch it, but then she just leaned in, and it is a bad look. It is a really bad look. But again, she's not going to get called out by left-wing media outlets. Seattle media is not covering this. I covered this at seattlered.com, which is the website you go to for analysis and news without any of the left-wing spin. In fact, we call out the left-wing spin. And the way that we grow is by you going to the website, reading stories like this, and then sharing stories like this. Maybe you should share it on her Blue Sky account if you have one. I had one, but they banned me from Blue Sky because I kept posting conservative articles. I'm not making it up. I thought originally they had banned me for impersonation. I assumed that's what it was because I'm not going to go through the blue checkmark process for Blue Sky. But no, they said it was because of the posts and the only posts I made were conservative content. And then I started posting on Threads, and I realized that's just Blue Sky. But because it's tied to Instagram, they can't just ban me for impersonation.
I've never been on, but I've seen other conservative accounts on X talk about they go on it when Trump does anything, and they're like, guys, go check Blue Sky. It's just it's like a mental institution apparently.
It really is. It's really bad. And look, Republicans can get into this camp too, I guess, but we don't have. I know that they want to pretend on the left that X is all conservatives. No, it was all conservative for about 7 hours when people said, I'm going to quit X and go over to Blue Sky. Oh, guys, come enjoy freedom. And then they're right back to X again. So X is filled with liberal, bad faith arguments. Blue Sky, there's almost no conservatives there. They don't allow conservatives in Blue Sky. It's intended for, or unless you're the right kind of conservative, I guess.
The Adam Kinzingers of the world.
Oh, God. Find one position he ever takes anymore. Well, what are you talking about? We have Adam. We've got Liz Cheney. We sometimes have Thomas Massey.
Michael Steele.
1-800-465-8770 for your text. Anna from The View. It's like, hey, come hang out with Navarro.
George Conway.
She's oh, God. Okay, now you've gone too far. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. When we come back, Bellevue crime is down and Bellevue freedom fighters up. We'll tell you what happened over the weekend on the Big Local when we come back.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical,
there's no beating CM Heating.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
You're losing your hair and you simply need a solution that works. You want the best. Modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need world-class Dr. Perungo and his team at Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration. From the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, maybe all three like I had. Get your hair back with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment that begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, including mine. And get this, Advanced Hair is once again the winner of the 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, call 425-449-8185. Right now, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that redefined hair restoration. That's 425-449-8185. Or for the before and afters, visit advancedhair.com.
You know the one question that guys hate to have asked of them by their wives, Nick?
I can take a good guess.
I know you know 100 of them. This is the worst one. Do these jeans make my butt look big?
Whoa.
Can't answer that one, right? What I've noticed is whenever you ask me questions like that, I just simply say, oh, I don't know. What do the doctors at Longevity Medical Clinic say?
Well, the doctors at Longevity Medical Clinic would tell me that my butt looks great in those jeans now that my hormones are balanced.
What they do? Did they give you something to bring your weight down?
No, just a result of having my hormones balanced caused me to lose weight. Who would have known? I had no idea that would be a result of it.
So that's good. So the answer is you look great. You're beautiful.
I feel great. I look great.
Yeah.
And I know it.
I've also noticed that your testosterone makes you a little feistier than you normally are as my beautiful Greek wife.
I might be small, but I have a loud bark.
Yes, you do. Do what Nick and I have done. Take a free health analysis at longevitymedicalclinic.com.
From whiplash to herniated discs, there are a few car accident injuries we've all heard of. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains that even the most common injuries differ from one another.
Pre-existing conditions, health history, beginning of treatment. There are hundreds of factors that make every person and every injury unique. While these variables aid medical treatment, the strongest case recoveries must also take them into account.
Could you explain a little bit more?
Our team at Pendergast Law is obsessed with turning over every stone to differentiate each case. This requires thorough investigation, diligent listening, and relentless research. We never pursue cases with a one-size-fits-all approach. We built our success by treating every injury and every case with the individualized attention our clients need and deserve.
Pendergast Law's individualized approach to even the most common injuries makes the difference in case outcomes. It's another reason why I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
Sammamish, Kent, Olympia, Everett.
This is the Big Local on the Jason Rantz Show.
Centralia, Lakewood.
Stories about you, not about Seattle.
Hey, look at that, 4:30 on a weekday afternoon. I believe that means it's time for the, what was it, the big locale?
Yeah, I think it's locale.
Locale, the big locale. Brought to you by the Scott Jennings Show, heard weeknights, 8 to 10 right here on Seattle Red. This is part of the show where we completely ignore the stories coming out of Seattle and instead focus all of our attention on the communities you live in and care about the most. We start in Bellevue with a pair of stories. Perhaps they are connected. On the one hand, we have the Bellevue Police Department conducting an investigation upon a report that a man brandished a firearm during a pro-American, anti-Iran regime rally over the weekend. So that's obviously the right kinds of people who showed up. And I'm not seeing any audio on this, so I might need you to play the audio.
Then there wasn't any.
There was no audio.
No.
But there was a big rally. King 5 couldn't be bothered.
I guess they
anything.
couldn't.
So a bunch of people showed up and they were celebrating the news. I will say at least King 5 covered this. At least they didn't, I guess, want to pull any audio or be there for too long, but at least they were there. And the folks who showed up were obviously supportive of what happened, singing the praises of the Trump administration. Como at least was there at some point, and Lila was one of the Iranian Americans that celebrated.
It's a great day. I'm so happy for us living here and people in Iran. We are safer right now than in 24 hours ago because he got killed. They are evil people. They don't have soul.
Yep. Now, according to King 5, one of the demonstrators or the rally goers said she was dancing on the sidewalk, celebrating with, there were a couple hundred or so people who showed up.
Yeah, my fiance and I were actually in Bellevue and we drove past it. And
you didn't take any photos or stop?
Well, it was very quick. We were like, oh, hey, look. And then,
you couldn't just pull over and say, hey, this would be good for the show to get some content, because Jason couldn't make it to Bellevue. He had just been there in the morning and didn't want to drive back.
Well, I already know what you're thinking, and no, I was not the one that brandished the gun. Okay.
Well, it was curious so let me finish some of the details, because I was thinking about this. They say they were caravanning down the highway at one point, waving American, Israeli, and Iranian flags. And she had heard this demonstrators, someone yelling from a car stopped at a light. She pulled out her phone and she began filming, saying she didn't realize, but the man who was yelling at them had a gun. And at first she didn't even notice this. She goes back and she looks at the video and it's like, wait a minute. Is that a gun? And said, I didn't realize that he was pointing a gun until I watched the video back, and others said what had happened. It's only a 9-second video. It was a dude from a dark-colored BMW yelling at them. And at first I was thinking, because there's some conflict in all of this. Which ideology is more likely to shout and brandish a gun towards people celebrating America and Israel in the context of what happened in Iran? Liberals.
Yeah.
Which ideological side is more likely to have a gun? So part of me was like, when I first initially saw just like the headline, I was thinking to myself, is it possible that it was someone who believed that the folks who were showing up, because we're used to having the anti-American people take to the streets and protest, that's what he thought he was waving the gun at?
Maybe, but there was like American flags.
I know.
I'm
just saying. He could, for all he knew, it could have been they're probably about to burn the American flag and the Israeli flag, right? It's possible. But then, obviously, it seems hard to believe that that's what it was. Do you think it was a liberal, or do you think it was just someone who was confused? I don't know why in my head I'm just...
They could just be deranged.
Conflicted a little bit. Well, I don't know. This doesn't feel like I mean, they might be deranged, but it doesn't feel like it's just like a random crazy person for no reason who was triggered by the people.
Maybe they're just prejudiced against Persians or something.
I guess. It's curious you say Persian.
Well, that's what they are.
I know, but why not say Iranian?
I don't know. It sounds more sophisticated.
Does it, though?
Like, oh, I know the ethnicity.
Are all Iranians Persian?
Well, probably not all of them, but...
Okay. Are all Persians Iranian?
I guess technically no, but...
Okay. So then wouldn't Iranian be more...
Well, I'm sure...
Accurate? We value accuracy on this program.
Okay, sorry.
This is not King 5, sir. This was presented by a local Bellevue group called Voice of Iran. And apparently they've been calling for regime change for a long time. And, here's how you know generally whether or not, let's just say you're driving by and there's a bunch of protesters or rally you're not exactly sure, but it's a crowd and you see some flags somewhere. You know, if you're in Seattle, it's the anti-American crowd. If you're in Bellevue, it's the pro-American crowd, generally. Like when there are pro-Israel events, they're always happening in Bellevue. It's always happening on the Greater East Side. If you're looking to demonize Israel, it's almost always happening in Seattle. Now, there have been some exceptions. There was the one in Kirkland at the weekend of October 7th. I think it was October 8th, where the anti-Semite showed up, and that was in Kirkland. That was very rare. We don't normally get that kind of thing in Kirkland. So maybe someone just got confused. But they were in the video, someone was yelling Free Palestine. So I'm assuming, in addition to just getting confused about what they were protesting, it was in fact a liberal. Speaking to Como, Lay Tavasoli said they've got concerns about his family in Iran.
The reality is we just don't know. I could find out tomorrow that they're dead. I might hear something in a week. Iranians have to free themselves because only Iranians can determine what is correct for Iran. Because the current regime might be fallen, but if someone else is put in power by the U.S., Israel, that is not freedom. It's just a repackaged imprisonment.
And by the way, I haven't seen any reports about civilian casualties in Iran. I'm assuming there were, but I'm not seeing a ton yet.
I thought I saw one that said like 100 something.
But nothing's been confirmed, and it's what the folks call kinetic happening right now on the ground. And so, it's not, again, we don't have boots on the ground other than I'm presuming we have intel on the ground. Certainly Israelis have Mossad on the ground, and they've been there for probably decades. And Americans have probably been there for decades as well, CIA operatives. But we're not getting a ton yet. This was a precision strike, so I'm confident to say we're doing everything we can to minimize the strikes. I mean, obviously we target girls' schools, and it wasn't an IRGC missile that was errant and ended up targeting it and then being used for propaganda that ABC News and others just decided to amplify without verifying.
I saw a lot of critics immediately jump on that. They're like,
see, we told you. They were like, and then the second it came out, it was actually the Iranian Guard. They didn't say anything. In fact, I'm pretty sure I saw some outlets continue to push the false story. Daily Mail did that. They continued to push the false story or say, unconfirmed reports of U.S. Stop. I mean, Iranian state media said it was them. They literally control the media there. And they said, our bad.
It's nice that they care about civilians now, and they didn't have anything to say about the 30,000 or so that have been getting mowed down.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. But what's her name? Rashida Tlaib. She had a lot to say. Same with Ilhan Omar and AOC and Pramila Jayapal. Didn't say anything with the 30,000 dead Iranian people who were trying to fight back against the Ayatollah. They didn't have anything to say there, but all of a sudden they were just filled with a whole bunch of hot takes about how awful everything is. Meanwhile, staying in Bellevue, there was a significant crime drop last year that the city is crediting with community partnerships between the community and police. It's more than that. You know what they do, and this is kind of rare in this general region of Western Washington? You know what they do with, say, shoplifters?
They actually arrest them and then
step.
convict them. And
what? They charge?
Hold them to account.
What? It's crazy. And yet that's why overall crime, in large part, was down about 27% year over year. Property crime saw the biggest drop, according to the city. That was down 33%. And that includes burglary, theft, and robbery. New stats, according to Como, for last year also show a sizable dip in the number of simple assaults, which were down 13%. And that continues a trend in the city of Bellevue. And again, when you allow cops to do their jobs, when you then follow up with charges coming from their city attorney, and you have a local government that says, we might not agree politically, ideologically about a whole bunch of things, but this is apolitical, and we don't want to be known as a city that can be taken advantage of and our businesses be destroyed by simple theft, and we don't want people to feel uncomfortable walking around or taking transit. It actually reduces crime. And, again, they can say that this is all about the community partnerships, which I don't... they say that. I haven't seen any data specifically about this is why, and we can tie it direct. Community partnerships with police, obviously important. It allows you to proactively police. It encourages a good relationship with the community so that the community can then say, If you see something, say something to the cops. We appreciate the cops. They're going to work for us. That's obviously really good. But they've had targeted campaigns from the Bellevue Police Department specifically set up for stings outside of their Home Depot, for example. That general area was like a Best Buy and a Target. Like, they set up camp there and made arrests. And they sent the message that if you're going to shoplift from our businesses, you will suffer consequences. You will suffer consequences. And when you go after people who are involved in those kinds of crimes, even though it's not a violent crime, they might still be violent. And so taking them off the streets means there's a higher likelihood that you're cutting out some other crime that otherwise would have occurred in another instance with this person. Yeah, you start by going to the Home Depot and you steal, whatever you're stealing from the Home Depot to sell on the streets. Then you end up breaking into a car or a home, and sometimes people are there. And it just escalates and escalates and escalates. And it's not to say that Bellevue doesn't have crime. They obviously do, including some high-profile crime. But they take it more seriously than a lot of other cities because the government, the leadership, D or R, they take it more seriously. And when you see that happening, that's why you see, again, it's not perfect, but when you look to Federal Way, when you look to Kent, when you look to Shoreline, they are, even Linwood, like they take this a little bit more, maybe not Linwood as much, but they take it seriously and they see results. And this is what we want. This is what we want. Again, it turns out policing works. I know.
Anytime I've seen like a homeless person camping out or like a tent anywhere in Bellevue, it's gone within like an hour. Like
they don't put up with it. You go to any park in Bellevue, not perfect, but you go to a park in Bellevue, very good chance you're not going to see a single tent. And if you do, to your point, you call that in, they're cleaning that up in an hour or two. Going to the city we don't talk about in this segment, it just grows and grows and grows. It might grow as you're on the phone calling 911 and them telling you, what do you want from us? Why are you calling us? Did someone get shot? Oh, they did? Well, tell us when a second person gets shot, then we'll send someone. And then finally, speaking of crime, what city do we always go to when I want to talk about crime in the big local?
Tukwila.
Always Tukwila. A teen was
leave us alone.
It's like, stop. Well, take the crime. And the funny part about Tukwila is their PD, I want to say, is really active, but I don't know if they're proactive in the context of going out to try to prevent crime versus going out after crimes were committed. Because I follow them on social media, and they've always got posts about a new crime that they've solved. Great, awesome that they're making arrests. But it's never, to me, it's never like the proactive kind. It's someone called 911 because there was another crime, and so we went and made an arrest, which is obviously important. But my God. Oof. They say over at mynorthwest.com, a teen was detained 3 different times at the same store on Friday. The same store. 6 people were damaging property at a retail store. Officers got there. They detained a juvenile and an adult male. The rest of the group allegedly became aggressive with the responding officers, causing a priority response from Tukwila PD. So more cops showed up to help with the situation. They made their arrests. They found on the adult male to be in possession of a pistol and a substance consistent with narcotics. He was booked into jail. The juvenile who was detained wasn't taken into custody because we don't actually put juveniles in custody ever anymore. And that's not up to Tukwila PD. That's the jail. But he was trespassed from the location and then given a ride to the light rail station so he can go back home to Renton, which is oftentimes, I've learned, where the criminals are from. But they have a little bit of respect for their own community, so they usually just go into Tukwila to commit the crimes. They say rather than going home, he returned to the same store 30 minutes later. Officers quickly spotted him, detained him again. This time, his mother was required to take custody. Something tells me not Mother of the Year material. They say as the suspect's mother was attempting to leave, he fled from her car on foot. And then they wrote on their Facebook page, going for a hat trick of 3 detainments in one day, the juvenile yet again returned and was located by officers spitting on their patrol cars. He was detained for the 3rd time that evening with the hope that he would be booked into juvenile detention. But what do you think happened? He was denied because of the nature of his crimes. They were like, hey, let him kill someone first and then we'll detain him. God, why don't you figure this out, Tukwila PD? So can you blame Tukwila PD for not being able to proactively police? They can't even leave the scene of one alleged crime because the bad guy keeps allegedly coming back. 1-800-465-8770 for your text. When we come back, you pick the news. Story number 1. Oh, God, I guess we've picked the theme of Fatty McFatfaces. Ranch milkshake topped with carrots and whipped cream and chicken goes on sale. Oh, my God. Or story number 2. MLB team launches bottomless concession tickets starting at just $29. Oh, my God. Don't even vote. I'm doing both of these stories when we come back on the Jason Rantz Show. Or, excuse me, the Jason Rantz Show.
Cold is leaking and rats are moving and mold is creeping and water seeping in. It's hard to be a homeowner, we know.
Without American Crawl Space and Pest Services, it is hard to be a homeowner. Dave Ross here. American Crawl are the heroes to call for insulation and pest issues because in addition to their great reviews and decades of experience, they also give out the most PSE insulation rebates of any insulation company in the state.
American Crawl, the heroes you call.
Get your free inspection at AmericanCrawl.com.
Trying to make sense of the markets? Looking to diversify out of all the craziness? Thinking about tangible assets like precious metals? Listen to The Gold Show with Kenny Michaels right here at Seattle Red, 9 a.m. Sunday mornings. Stay up to date on retirement trends, how the IRA rollover process works, and why investors are turning to physical gold. Kenny is a national talk show host with decades of experience in the markets. Tune in for Kenny's Insights and The Gold Show this Sunday morning at 9 a.m.
Jackson Hewitt knows taxes are complicated, and with multiple jobs and tax forms, they're like Sonata complicated. Our no surprise pricing keeps things simple. Jackson Hewitt does your taxes for only $149 or less. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back. So what are you waiting for? Hurry. File with Jackson Hewitt today for only $149 or less, guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
You still thinking job change in the new year?
Yeah, I need something that's in high demand and more stable in this economy.
IT?
Yeah, cybersecurity, maybe even AI.
That's what I did.
Really? How?
Went to My Computer Career. You don't need any prior experience, and you could start your new career in a matter of months. A lot of IT pros go to school there, too, to level up.
Sweet. Are classes online or on campus?
Both.
Wow, I'll check it out. Thanks.
Make this your year. Take the free career evaluation now at mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
Jackson Hewitt knows taxes are complicated, and with multiple jobs and tax forms, they're like Sonata complicated. Our no surprise pricing keeps things simple. Jackson Hewitt does your taxes for only $149 or less. And since we know all the new tax codes, you could get thousands back. So what are you waiting for? Hurry. File with Jackson Hewitt today for only $149 or less, guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
As a social influencer, my days can be busy. 4 a.m., I hit the gym. 4:32, protein smoothie. 5:08, save time and money bundling my home and auto insurance with Progressive. Wait, if I bundle and save time, what would I do then? Just sit here and reflect? Like, why am I qualified to influence anyone? And how those weights are hollow? And half of my followers are bots.
You could save time and money bundling your home and auto when you switch to Progressive. It's one less thing to worry about during your already busy day. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
I had pain. I had numbness in my feet. That pain and that numbness just got worse and worse and worse as time went on.
This is Greg describing life with neuropathy.
I went to 5 podiatrists, tried different treatments, tried different orthotics, tried different shoes, had cortisone shots in the tops and the bottoms of my feet. Saw a neurologist. All my medical doctors said, can't help you. Live with the pain. You're not going to be able to sleep. This is your life. And then I just gave up until I found Sound Pain Solutions.
I'm Dr. Mark Shelley, a chiropractic physician and board-certified functional neurologist at Sound Pain Solutions. Our neuropathy treatments can rehabilitate damaged nerves. We use FDA-cleared, non-surgical, drug and pain-free procedures that help neuropathy sufferers like Greg find relief.
I feel better. I mean, just feeling better is huge.
If you experience numbness, shooting or burning pains, or loss of balance, call us. Sound Pain Solutions, 855-996-0025, or click soundpainsolutions.com.
You picked the topic on the Jason Rantz Show.
Well, if I'm being honest, I picked for you. We're doing both because this is just too much. So there's a place in New York called Great Wolf Lodge. They just announced a limited edition milkshake that I have to assume was only created to get some sort of free press, because there's no way even the most disgusting Fatty McFatface would purchase this. In fact, I'm presuming it's not meant for them. At least half of it isn't meant.
I'm pretty sure it's actually a nationwide chain too.
Is it really?
There's one in Washington.
Oh wait, I have no wonder that sounded familiar. I was like, is that local? But then they say it's in New York. At least for this particular milkshake, they say it's a ranch milkshake topped with carrots, celery, whipped cream, and crispy chicken. It goes on sale on Thursday and will be available at all 23 Great Wolf Lodge parks until March 20th. Let's reach out to the one in Washington and say, what are you doing? What the hell is wrong with you? Why would you do this? They say it's a blend of vanilla ice cream and ranch dressing and will be available for $3.10. And you might say, well, how could they afford that? Because the chicken alone is going to be more than that. Don't worry, no one's going to purchase it. That's why. They say blurring the line between dessert and snack. It can be sipped or gulped like a shake or used as a dip. We won't judge. Oh, my God.
I'll judge.
We 100% will judge. What are you talking about? Not judge. That's all I'll be doing. You will never escape judgment for making this purchase if you so choose. Unless it's made as a joke to give to someone and see if they fall for it. People online... just one word was my favorite tweet, which is horrifying. Others say, I hope the responsible people are locked up. This makes me want to throw up right now. Dear God, it's really made with ice cream. I assumed it was mashed potatoes or something. Ugh. Other people pointed out the obvious. This is why we have an obesity epidemic. RFK Jr. almost had a heart attack as a result of this, and he's got a very healthy heart. Dr. Marty McCary said, this is an emergency, and he's shutting the whole thing down. Oh, my God. Why? This has to be just for publicity, right?
If it is, it's working.
I guess. But is it, I know how everyone says, well, publicity. I guess it reminded us we have one locally, but no one's going to go as a result of this, even in this sort of Instagram world where people might want to take a photo. Where is the local one?
Centralia.
Should we send Duncan to go take photos? Let's reach out and see if they can send us some photos of this. Tell them we'll give them free press at seattlered.com. Don't tell them that we'll be mocking it and calling them out for being responsible for America's obesity epidemic. Is this really the message to send during the Maha movement? Can we all build a bridge, Republican and Democrat, in just condemning this as disgusting? Ugh. That said, if they want to send one over here, I will have Jackson test it, because I'm definitely not going to eat that stuff. They also say over at KSDK out of St. Louis, if you're ready to get your fill of baseball and concessions, the Cardinals have a new deal that they just announced, Coca-Cola Unlimited, a new ticket option that offers bottomless soft drinks and ballpark eats for the entire season. Included in the price, you get a seat in Big Mac Land. Oh, my God. They're even identifying where to put the fatties. Big Mac Land, wouldn't you feel embarrassed to be seated there? A wristband that allows them to return to the unlimited concession stand, but also identified by all the people around them as unable to control their appetites. They should give them like GLP-1s and 2 when you go in there. Just we'll give you this, but we're also giving you a shot so you don't come back. Ugh. So this is what it comes with. You get 3 of the following items. A fountain Coke product, hot dogs, chicken tenders, bratwurst, nacho chips and cheese, French fries, popcorns, peanuts, kettle chips, and ice cream cups. They say once they make their selections, fans will be able to pick up their items from the unlimited concession stand outside of Section 265 to show your wristband. And you can go back up as many times, but you can only get 3 items at once. They don't give the price in this, so I will, in fairness to maybe some people, even though you'll have to be seated in the fat section, this could make sense based on the cost, especially if you're there with people.
Yeah, like a family or something.
Yeah, then it could legitimately make sense, but they don't give the price, which is never a good sign. But I bet you it's not that expensive, because the items that they're selling, these are sort of the very basic, low-level items. You're not getting like the sushi that they do or the artisan mac and cheese. This is just like the basic stuff that probably costs the ballpark pennies to create, to make. So it actually could, in fairness to the people, but you do have to be stuck in the Big Mac section. Why do they call it a Big Mac land? They're not selling any McDonald's.
Well, it has like a McDonald's logo on it, and then I think
they're just the sponsor.
It's also a reference to Mark McGuire because he was called Big Mac because he was a Cardinal.
This feels like a missed opportunity to franchise with McDonald's. Okay, whatever. I'm kind of hungry now. 1-800-465-8774, your texts. It's the Jason Rantz Show.
Jackson Hewitt handles your taxes and your stress. Inhale our no surprise price of $149 or less. Exhale, paying more for complicated taxes. You won't. Inhale new tax law knowledge. Exhale, missing out on your biggest refund. Certainly not. Don't miss paying $149 or less. Rest easy. Jackson Hewitt's got your taxes. Guaranteed. Limited time offer for new clients on federal returns. Participating locations only. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/149.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Jeff's day is off to a slow start. So he heads to AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination, where Sammy, a local AutoZoner, tests his battery for free. Looks like he just needs a charge. And Sammy does that for free too. In no time at all, Jeff is back on the road, ready to finish the day strong. Free battery testing and charging at every store. No hassles, just help.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
General Transmission Repair has you and your car's best interest in mind. They're experts at repairing transmissions and can save you money. If you need a second opinion on your car's failing transmission, generaltransmission.com or 206-878-5759.
Is it time to get your home sold? Nick Southard with Upgrade Realty here. Selling hundreds of homes around the Sound for over 25 years has taught me presentation is everything. And with my luxurious marketing, you'll attract tons of buyers, sell fast at top dollar, and net more money. Because Upgrade Realty will save you thousands in fees for only 1% listing commission. To learn more, visit upgraderealty.com. Upgrade your listing for 1%. Upgraderealty.com.
Thanks for calling CM Heating. How can I help?
Yeah, hi. Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
Yep, that's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is absolutely free.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so we'll help you save the most and even handle the rebate process start to finish.
Amazing, but what if I just need a furnace?
All good. Furnaces start at just $69.99 a month. And don't forget to ask about our clean air upgrades, because with all the smoke from wildfires, these systems filter out pollen, dust, and harmful particles, keeping the air in your home clean and healthy all year long.
Sweet.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, a free furnace you'll love for years, and cleaner air for your home. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, total home comfort, and electrical service,
There's no beating CM Heating.
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters. Tune in this weekend when we'll talk with local business owners about everything in and around your home. Join us on Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
Laying out the case. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump explaining his reasoning for ordering strikes against Iran.
This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime.
The president saying the action against Iran could last 4 to 5 weeks, but it could be longer. He also paid tribute to the soldiers lost. The Pentagon now says 6 service members have died in the action. Top congressional leaders have been briefed on the military action. House Speaker Mike Johnson.
Israel was determined to act in their own defense here, with or without American support. Why? Because Israel faced what they deemed to be an existential threat.
Virginia Democratic Senator Mark Warner.
This is still a war of choice that has been acknowledged by others, was dictated by Israel's goals and timelines.
Warner said he stands by Israel, calling them our greatest ally in the region, but said he has concerns when Americans' lives are put in jeopardy. The U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, was attacked by 2 drones, causing a fire, but no injuries. The House Oversight Committee has released the audio of the depositions of former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and President Bill Clinton in connection with Jeffrey Epstein.
For his part, Bill Clinton, despite more than 24 documented trips aboard Epstein's private aircraft, denied he knew anything about illicit schemes or alleged illicit appetites.
I'm here to offer what little I know so I can do my part to prevent something like this from happening again.
Now, when asked whether Ghislaine Maxwell ever visited the Clinton home in Chappaqua, Bill replied, "I don't recall, but it's quite possible."
Fox's Kevin Cork. America is listening to Fox News.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take Dayquil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
Dayquil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed, keep out of reach of children.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Coach! The yellow light!
I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here live on Seattle Red 770 AM. We are streaming live on the Seattle Red app, online at seattlered.com. We got a lot to get to. Congressman Michael Baumgartner will give us the latest out of Iran. A topless trans politician defeated a recall effort in a small city. But first, Secretary Hegseth, President Trump, made the case for the war in Iran. Democrats, of course, are unhappy. That's their default. And that's what's trending.
What's trending? International.
You heard at the top of the hour, Senator Mark Warner, along with Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, respond after there was a briefing with members of Congress on both sides of the aisle discussing the intel that pushed the president to make the decision to launch strikes against Iran. And it's interesting because both Democrats and Republicans essentially said the same thing. They just said it in completely different ways. But they essentially said the same thing. Now, Mark Warner, the senator from Virginia, over the weekend was pretending that this is outrageous. I can't believe it. There's no intel that suggests that this was appropriate. In fact, here he was trying to do his best to not quite both sides it, but he went on CNN's State of the Union.
To put our service members in harm's way and bases around the region in harm's way was entirely based upon the president's decision, not an imminent threat to America.
But then he comes out and changes his tune a little bit. I'm not going to replay it. We just played it at the top of the hour, but he's kind of like, okay, yeah, but it's still a war of choice. Well, yes, they're all usually wars of choice. I mean, even if we're hit, we don't have to respond. That's how this works. We make choices. But it was curious that he didn't come back and say, upon hearing all the intel, I'm convinced that this was made up. There's no threat whatsoever. Like, he didn't take that position in that clip that you heard. Meanwhile, Mike Johnson, we're still waiting to get the audio coming in from his press briefing that's being held, but he said that it's clear that we would have faced staggering losses to our troops, but also our assets if we waited to strike. And he said that he's convinced that the president did the right thing. Now, I know what you can say on the left. People will say, well, of course Mike Johnson's going to back the president. Okay, fair enough. But Mark Warner is kind of saying the same thing without saying it directly, because he knows he can't just say it directly, that his side of the aisle would just absolutely lose it if he were to do that. So I think that is of note. I think that is of note. And again, we'll hear more from folks on the left who will respond post-meeting. But going into it, you heard the same talking point over and over and over again. And my favorite one is that, this is an illegal war. Some people tried to say, I'm glad that the Ayatollah is gone. I'm glad that the regime is crumbling, but it's still an illegal war. Others like Pramila Jayapal, they just say, oh, it's an illegal war and this is disgusting. Gregory Meeks, the congressman from New York, was on MS Now.
This president cannot act in an individual basis, creating wars around the world.
So just real quickly, I'll let him finish. The president can act unilaterally. And if you didn't like that, you should have complained during the Obama administration that engaged in, 8 similar military actions, not as bold, no doubt, but he also engaged in military action without congressional approval. The process that is underway here is what the Democrats were okay with under Obama. The president informed 7 of the Gang of 8. They couldn't get a hold of the 8th. And by the way, the reason why they couldn't get a hold of everyone is because they made this decision based on intel that allowed them to strike and kill Khomeini and others, 49 in total that we know of. So number one, there was congressional oversight in that regard. Number two, actually, he doesn't need congressional authorization. Now, you may not like this, but the reality is he has congressional authorization. Do you remember when it came? You probably forgot about this.
Was it be the AUMF from Iraq or Afghanistan?
You're hovering. I'll give you a hint. 2001. 9/11.
Yeah.
What was passed after that? Who could we go after? Anyone, any country harboring terrorists connected with 9/11 or provided material support, things like that, of which Iran was covered.
Well, and there's the War Powers Act, too. It says he has 60 days.
There's also that. But again, they're going to make the case that the War Powers Act, because we've declared war, even though we haven't actually declared war in the traditional sense, would have required them to. It's nonsense. But we already had the coverage back in 2001. And I don't even think the War Powers Act applies in this particular context. But, again, I'm not an expert in that. They didn't cover that in this last season of The Diplomat on Netflix. So I can't speak confidently to that. But I do know back in 2001 that it was, in fact, given the approval.
Without coming to Congress. Look, he's breaking his own promise where he said that he would not create wars and having these endless wars going on.
Now, again, this is an endless war. How long has it been going on?
Like 2.5 days.
It might as well be 40 years. This endless war.
And it seems that he's moving in that direction. And I guess that's why he wanted to rename the Defense Department, where we're talking about defending America, to the War Department, where we're talking about going out and having war with everyone, which is what this administration seems to be doing.
Democrats said that Trump cozies up to dictators because he wants to be them. Donald Trump is obsessed with dictators. That's why he's BFFs with Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un in North Korea and what's his name, or Orban. Like, we get that. At the same time, they also say Donald Trump is outrageous and undemocratic and a warmonger because he took out Maduro, who is still alive but will be tried, but also took out the Ayatollah. So which is it? Is he friends with dictators or does he destroy their regimes? Can you pick a lane? Don't care which lane. I'm just saying, could you pick a lane? Is that possible or no? Because everything Donald Trump does is just wrong. Now, of course, Mayor Zoran Mamdani decided to weigh in on this.
Today's military strikes by the United States and Israel mark a catastrophic escalation in an illegal act of war, of aggression.
This is an illegal act of war, not the whole getting nuclear weaponry and, committing acts of terrorism against Americans 2,000 plus and Israel.
Bombing cities, killing civilians, opening up a new theater of war.
Oh, I hate him.
Americans do not want this.
That part's true. Americans don't want this. Polling, we'll talk with Michael Baumgartner at the bottom of the hour, has one new poll has it at 1 in 4 support this. But I would argue that's because most people don't know the details yet of what it is we're doing and why. And while the president obviously put out 2 lengthy statements over the weekend on video, it wasn't like today where every member of the decision makers in the cabinet went on TV and started to talk about this. J.D. Vance is making his case shortly on Fox News. We heard from Marco Rubio earlier today, and he, like Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, but also like President Trump, outlined why we acted when we did.
The United States is conducting an operation to eliminate the threat of Iran's short-range ballistic missiles and the threat posed by their Navy, particularly to naval assets. That is what it is focused on doing right now, and it's doing quite successfully. I'll leave it to the Pentagon and the Department of War to discuss the tactics behind that and the progress that's being made. That is the clear objective of this mission. The second question that's been asked is, why now? Well, there's 2 reasons why now. The first is it was abundantly clear that if Iran came under attack by anyone, the United States or Israel or anyone, they were going to respond against the United States. The orders had been delegated down to the field commanders. It was automatic, and in fact, it bared to be true, because in fact, within an hour of the initial attack on the leadership compound, the missile forces in the south and in the north, for that matter, had already been activated to launch. In fact, those had already been pre-positioned.
Now, the more information we get, the more likely the response from the public will change. I don't know how quickly. I have no idea. And some of this will obviously depend on what it is we do and how many American lives are lost. Right now we're at 6. And the president has said, including earlier today, that that number is likely to go up. And I have no doubt about that. This is an actual war, and there are missiles coming our way. And there's some friendly fire or mistakes being made, as were made earlier today. And that's going to continue, unfortunately. Maybe not as many mistakes, hopefully. But we are at war. And we didn't start this, but we are going to end this. And it's just really telling to hear some of the lunatics on the left, like our friend Anna Navarro, who at least this time on CNN looked me in the eye when she was trying to take me on before I humiliated her. This is what she had to say on The View.
Trump has, I think, changed since Venezuela. I think Venezuela, I think he thought Venezuela was...
Which she supported, by the way, but reluctantly.
...was incredibly successful. And he's been making comparisons with what happened in Venezuela with what's happening in Iran. I don't know Iran. I know Venezuela. Maduro was a piddly little third world dictator. Venezuela is not Iran. Iran has...
Iran is way more of a threat than Venezuela.
Terrorist cells all over the world that they can activate. Venezuela was one and done. They went in there, they extricated Maduro, and that was the end of that. This certainly that is not that. He's already told us it could be 4 or 5 more weeks of strikes. We are seeing retaliation by the Iranians that the Venezuelans didn't have the ability to do. So I think that he's in love with this idea of being the conqueror and the emperor after Venezuela. He's got this Napoleonic complex. He thinks he's Alexander the Great.
Right.
But Venezuela is not Iran.
She does realize we're going after threats because she said it in her own statement that they are terrorism supporters. Okay. She's the kind of person that worries me because she's not her specifically, but that talking point from folks on the left is just going to get amplified and amplified and amplified by left-wing media, and people might fall for this. The more people actually learn about this, including on our side, I think the better it is, which is why, again, you're going to see nonstop messaging from this White House, nonstop messaging over the course of the next several weeks. And, he said, it could maybe last a few weeks, up to 6 weeks. Who we don't know. He's obviously not going to say it's going to be 6 weeks or it's going to be 2 weeks. I imagine it won't actually last 6 weeks because we've been really effective. And not just us, obviously Israel as well. And because Iran ended up bringing in Middle Eastern countries into the mix, they're going to want this over soon too. And they're not going to hold any kind of loyalty to the Iranian regime. They're not. You're not all of a sudden going to be Saudi Arabia or, Jordan or any, like, not all of us are like, whoa, we got to help our friends in Iran. They're going to back Israel as well as America because they know what the consequences will be if they don't. And they understand what's at stake here and what's at risk. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Woke madness.
Lucy Loser, or Lucy Loser, I think is actually how you pronounce her name, but she changed it because she used to be a he. She is still a he, but a trans council member. Does that mean she identifies as a council member and is actually just a resident?
My head's spinning.
I'm confused. No, so she's a transgender woman who is a Stevenson City Council member who, in March of last year, outside of the Skamania County Courthouse, she took off her shirt or her top, and she was nude with a message that said, "My body is not a sin." She was protesting whatever the trans cause du jour was that day, but it was part of a protest. She wasn't arrested, but Kathleen Fitzgerald, a resident, started a recall petition because she failed to honor her oath of office. At least that was the allegation. In Washington state, the Constitution provides a clear outline of what has to happen or what legal steps have to be met in order to initiate a recall effort. And in this case, they did not meet it. And so it went to a court, ultimately went to the Washington State Supreme Court, and they rejected this. They say, this is Justice Charles Johnson writing for the majority, not all exposure is considered obscene. For example, the statute specifically states that breastfeeding is not considered indecent exposure. She didn't believe her exposure violated the law because it was an act of protest, which she did not believe was obscene. Therefore, even if Louser violated the law, and there's a strong argument she did not, it was not intentional. Now, that's not a good argument that, she didn't think she was breaking the law. Like that's a horrible argument. But the reality is they were never going to get her on this. There's an intentionally high bar to recall, and I'm generally okay with that. You basically have to have committed a serious crime before they initiate or give the thumbs up. To a degree, I understand that. I think maybe the bar is a little bit too high, so it should be lowered a little bit because we get really bad responses like Justice Johnson. Again, saying it wasn't against the law in the context that it occurred, that's fair. Saying she didn't think it was against the law, okay. You know what people might be doing in protests at Denny Blaine Park, so-called Perv Park? They might be exposing themselves in a self-pleasuring way in protest to say, see, no one's actually hurt except for Jason's eyes as he's filming this, which that's actually illegal. That's the kind of logic that they're bringing. Kudos for this activist woman who stepped forward and said, you know what, I don't like this. She's not a good example for our community. It's disgusting. This is Stevenson. This isn't Seattle. But I knew she was going to lose, and the Supreme Court just said, yeah, we're not going to give you a pass on this. Let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? Supreme Court.
Speaking of the Supreme Court, they just ruled for parents based on a case out of California. They ruled that California is likely violating the constitutional rights of parents who object to policies preventing teachers from disclosing when their kid changes their names or their pronouns. This according to The Hill. They say the decision marks a major victory for parental rights advocates at this early stage of the case and a blow to the state's efforts to shield the privacy of quote-unquote LGBTQ2IAS++ students. The justices have not definitively resolved this case, and ultimately it almost certainly will return back to the Supreme Court, but at least 5 of the 6 conservative justices ruled for the parents via Justice Neil Gorsuch, who did not though Justice Neil Gorsuch did not publicly disclose his vote, the 3 liberal justices dissented. So if you get 5 of the 6, you're golden. Gorsuch is on LGBT legal issues kind of all over the place. He sometimes sides with the conservatives, other times he doesn't. He'll sometimes side with the liberals.
He's pretty libertarian, so he can kind of fall either way.
Yeah, so which is fine by me, right? If the right decision is ultimately made, in my view, I'm okay with a justice who's at least consistent in his application of the law. And by the way, we don't know how he voted on this. He just did not publicly disclose. But the court wrote in the unsigned opinion, the parents who assert a free exercise claim have sincere religious beliefs about sex and gender, and they feel a religious obligation to raise their children in accordance with those beliefs. California's policies violate those beliefs. So this ruling restores a judge's order preventing California schools from misleading parents who object to all of this about their kids' gender presentation and social transitioning efforts at school. So this is obviously a really good decision, but it's one decision. Based on it, however, we know how it's going to go. It can get to the Supreme Court. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take to fully get in front of them. And in theory, let's say Clarence Thomas or Sam Alito retire and it could get to them. That's when the Gorsuch vote could maybe play a role. But this is a very good decision and a great step in the right direction. Quickly, let's find out what else is trending.
What's trending? National.
The deposition videos of both Clintons came out earlier today. They're many hours long. So it's going to take a while for everyone on the Jason Rantz Show team to go through with a fine-tooth comb the transcript and the video. We've got a total team effort on this, and we're not yet relying on sites like Grabien or Mediaite to pull out the best moments, and we're not keeping an eagle eye on Fox News to do the same. But our team of experts in the field of transcription and editing, they pulled a portion of Bill Clinton, his deposition, where he said Jeffrey Epstein never did anything improper with him, and he did nothing improper with Epstein.
I hate this, but because I don't believe I should inject anything. This. But I do not want to leave the impression, but since there was no follow-up question, the president never, this is 20-something years ago, never said anything to me to make me think he was involved in anything improper with regard to Epstein either. He just didn't.
It does depend on the definition of improper. That's an important piece here.
Side note, boy, he looks terrible.
He looks and sounds terrible. Now, in fairness, he's looked and sound terrible for a while now.
He has, yeah.
So it could just be he's weirdly healthier than where he was during the presidency, I think. Like he's thinner, but that could just be because he's sick. There's some he's getting old. He or is old.
That's the truth. As I said earlier, the only conversation I had with President Trump about this was in the early 2000s. And I have no information that he did anything wrong. I just want it all out there. I want everybody to get it all out there and let everybody see where we are. I hate this, but because I don't believe I should inject anything. But I do not want to leave the impression.
So he's clearing, it seems like everyone. He, of course, also said he had no knowledge of any crimes. That I don't believe at all. I've tried to be as consistent as humanly possible in this. I don't think we've seen any evidence of crimes that haven't yet been discovered. Like, even when you go and look at Prince Andrew, remember what they got him on potentially in the UK. Nothing having to do with sex crimes, but with sharing trade secrets. I don't think the files have the bombshell evidence that people believe it's going to have. And this idea, oh, it's a cover-up. No, you're telling me that the cover-up against Trump was happening under Biden? And you're telling me the cover-up against Clinton happened under Trump? I just don't believe the claims there. It does not make any sense to me. Now, is that hard to believe? Sure. Because Jeffrey Epstein was a criminal. He was a despicable monster. But just because he's a monster, just because he's despicable, doesn't mean that the files themselves will have evidence that you can use in a courtroom to actually send someone to jail for any of this. Now, again, you might find some things outside of the world of the sex crimes, which we should be prosecuting, no doubt. But, don't pull a Ana Navarro. No, they had the evidence, but they just didn't have the political will to go after the president. Oh, okay, right. Michael Baumgartner, congressman from Spokane, former U.S. State Department member. He'll stop by with the latest in Iran.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-292-4541 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-292-4541. That's 800-292-4541. What do you have to lose? Call 800-292-4541. Again, 800-292-4541.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax. They know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code ENJOY to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Let's talk about your hair. Well, maybe after we talk about my hair. I've got great hair, as you know, and it's because of Advanced Hair. Yep, Advanced Hair Restoration. Their simple one-day treatment offers life-changing results that I can attest to. Guys, it's not magic, but it's close to it. They put hair where you need it most, and bam, it grows. It's actual science. Advanced Hair has top-rated physicians, modern technology, and best of all, you get your very own natural hair that begins to regrow the very next day. It's even guaranteed to grow for life. So schedule your free consultation now at 425-449-8185. Mention Curly to qualify for $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. It's a limited time offer. Advanced Hair, the winner of the 425 Business of the Year, and the team that gave me my hair back. More importantly, they'll do the same for you. Guaranteed. 425-449-8185 or advancedhair.com.
The Jason Rantz Show.
All right, let's break it down with Seattle radio host and author Jason Rantz.
Jason, if I didn't know you, my first question would be, do you make these stories up?
No, they accepted this proposal. I guess it's a measure of how much they really don't like Trump, isn't it?
Long form.
Both President Trump and the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, they made their forceful arguments for this war against Iran, an Iranian regime that is murderous, that supports terror, not just in the Middle East, but all around the globe. It was undoubtedly the right move. And yet, whenever any president, regardless of whether it's a Democrat or a Republican, gets into any kind of military engagement, generally the American public, not a fan, at least not at first. polling that was done prior to this morning's statements from both the president and the Secretary of War suggests that about 1 in 4 Americans say they approve. So that's not a whole lot. Now, it's a little bit different when you break it down by Republican versus Democrat versus independent, but there's no doubt that there's not a whole lot of support yet. Joining me on the line to discuss, Congressman Michael Baumgartner of Spokane. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Jason. It's always great to be on.
I'm not necessarily shocked at the polling, and there's some poll. Insider Advantage had something over the weekend that said, at least as far as what happened on Friday and Saturday, people generally supported it. But I think there still needs to be a bigger conversation to the American public, more than just today, that makes the case. Is that fair?
Well, I think that's right. And I think the fact that the Iranian terrorist regime has been essentially at war with America for nearly 5 decades. Americans have become a little bit numb to this, how significant the security threat is. This is the same regime that's killed at least over 2,000 Americans, whether they were servicemen and women in Iraq that were targeted by Iranian proxy terrorist forces. Those are the folks that I dealt with when I was there with the State Department, or whether it was the Marines in the barracks in Beirut. But it's an extremely dangerous regime, and regardless of how many folks realize it right now, as illustrated by any polling data, America and the world are a lot safer without these guys having a very significant ballistic missile program, terrorist proxy forces, and God forbid a nuclear weapon. So, the reality is what we have to focus on is what's the policy, not the polls at the moment.
And yet policy oftentimes is dictated by polls. Do you think that this is a president who generally kind of rejects that notion? It seems like he does. He's just going to do what he thinks is right.
I think President Trump on foreign policy has been really impressive. And I say that as somebody that was really skeptical of President Trump when he came down the escalator. I thought it'd be naive and foolish on foreign policy. In my view, he's been the most strategic and significant foreign policy president since Dwight Eisenhower, starting with his decision to eliminate Iranian terrorist leader Qasem Soleimani in his first administration, and then the Abraham Accords. I don't think Donald Trump was looking at polling data, whether he made those decisions. I think he was looking at, what do I need to do to make America safer? And unlike a lot of the established the foreign policy establishment in Washington, D.C., which just sort of accepted that Iranians were going to be able to kill Americans at a low level and had to be afraid of them, President Trump had said, not on my watch. We're going to make the world safer.
Immediately after the bombing commenced, we heard from folks on the left who called this a forever war, which is funny because when they were making that statement, it had only been just like 7 hours. Like, we're tired of this forever war. I get why some people might respond that way who aren't in the know, and yet it's Democratic lawmakers. Others, like Chris Murphy, I think it was yesterday on Face the Nation, he made a point to compare Iran to Venezuela. That's a positive. Weren't we told that Venezuela was going to be an absolute chaotic mess and that was all about regime change? And then when none of what they claimed was going to happen happened, now they're just using the exact same talking point about Iran.
Well, there are some serious Democrats when it comes to foreign policy, like Josh Gottheimer from New Jersey or Senator Fetterman from Pennsylvania, but Chris Murphy is not one of them. Everyone is aware that the Democrat Party has just been dragged in a very scary fashion towards their radical base on the left, a base that has a lot of overtures to Marxism and anti-Americanism, and that really is the heartbeat of the base Democratic Party right now. And you have people like Chris Murphy that want to play to that base, but they're not serious foreign policy folks devoted to keeping Americans safer. And let's remember, almost none of these same Democrats said anything when President Obama decided to start a unilateral bombing campaign against Libya. None of them said anything when Biden and Trump were dealing with the Houthis, Iranian-backed Houthi group in Yemen, bombing the sea lanes, because those are significant issues. And again, the Iranian regime has been at war with the American people for 50 years. They've been chanting death to America for 50 years, and they mean it. They have killed Americans. I've watched roadside bomb explode when I was in Iraq. that was supplied by Iranians. I know Americans that have been killed by Iranians. And so, this is not some hypothetical. This has been playing out against American interests, for nearly 50 years. And it's about time that someone like President Trump, and thank him for doing it, stood up and took the actions that we're taking now. The people do not understand. And again, as you get back to the polling data, the amount of ballistic missiles that Iran was producing was over 100 a month. America does not possess enough interceptors, nor do our allies possess enough interceptors to be able to deal with that threat. And the mullahs at the top of Iran are not rational actors. They're a messianic death cult that believes that God is going to lead their extreme version of Shia Islam across the globe and certainly into America. And they have a messianic view of what's going to happen to the world. So they're an extremely dangerous regime, and they can't be dealt with. And anybody that on the Democrat side should know better of their elected leaders, either playing to their base or being willfully ignorant and partisan.
Congressman Michael Baumgartner joining me on the line. I want to get your reaction to a post that was made by a group of mostly Seattle area groups like Super UW, Nadal Seattle, and the Tariq El Tahir Youth and Student Movement. One of the slides they posted on social media is "Death to America, death to Israel, glory to the martyrs, long live the Islamic Republic of Iran, long live the Axis of Resistance," Axis being, a reference to Hezbollah, Hamas. These are activists in the Seattle area. A lot of them are young, although not all of them. And they're spreading this kind of messaging. So one, what's your reaction to it? And what does it say about left-wing media that goes to these organizations for reaction that they include in their nightly newscasts?
Well, I don't think anyone is surprised that there's left-wing idiots on college campuses, particularly at the University of Washington. There's been a Marxist, anti-American element there for quite a while. I've not heard of this group. I've not seen the post, but there is a problem with radical Islam in America, and some of it festers up on our college campuses. That's some of the work we've been trying to do on the House Education Committee, and on which I sat, and certainly the administration is working on to try to de-wokeify our college campuses. And certainly as a taxpayer in Washington State, I don't want that stuff subsidized. If these are American citizens, and if they're American citizens, they have the right to free speech, no matter how wrong and foolish their ideas are. If these are not American citizens, this is the kind of rhetoric and behavior that ought to get somebody on a student visa deported, because we should not be allowing or fostering this kind of sentiment in America if we don't need to. We don't need more anti-American radical Islamic Marxists into the country.
What can we expect in the next few days in Iran? Obviously, we know it's kinetic, all the buzzwords, but what generally should we expect?
Well, I think America's making a lot of progress now, and the coordination with Israel has really been unprecedented and really impressive in many sense. I really think this is actually the America First strategy playing out, despite the irony of some folks on the hard anti-Semitic right of not understanding this. Mm-hmm. We have an ally in Israel that is actually very robustly integrating into American security forces to assist us in advancing our military. What we really need is Taiwan to be more like Israel, and we need a country like Israel in Europe to be able to have the same sort of fortitude, innovation, and skill set to align with American values and interests. So that's one thing. So a lot of progress being made there. We also have a good, essentially de facto alliance now with the Gulf states, as Iran has sought to create a region-wide war, and that's a positive sign that the Saudis, Qataris, Emiratis, Bahrain, and others, Jordanians, are working together in defense. But look, this thing is going to go the way President Trump wants it to go. Iran does have a lot of missiles and drones, so we are targeting right now their launchers. The analogy is you're targeting the Archer as much as you're targeting the arrows. And then I think President Trump is going to keep pounding them with our forces until they seek to discuss, and then we'll see whether we get a change in regime behavior that we can verify, or actually a change in regime. We've seen President Trump call for an uprising of the Iranian people. And we see a lot of support from that, even in the streets of Bellevue in Seattle, but we'll have to see the realities on the ground. But I do think President Trump is carrying this out in a strategic, methodical way that gives us options as we move to the next steps of this thing.
Are you all just completely over Thomas Massie at this point? Are we counting down the days until his reelection defeat?
Look, Thomas Massie, there's some areas like Second Amendment rights and other issues where Thomas Massie, I think, has something to contribute. When it comes to America's national security, that's just not something where he has a really realistic view of how the world works, and I'm not somebody that's being listened to in Congress right now by anybody other. Maybe Ro Khanna sees some of the Democrat running for president, sees some political benefit there, but no, he's not a major player in any of this.
Congressman Michael Baumgartner, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, Jason. Keep up the great work.
Thank you so much. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show. When we come back, we're going to dive into some quick hits right here on Seattle Red, seattlered.com.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. Losing 1 hour of sleep might not sound like a big deal, but it is. With daylight saving time coming up, drivers need to pay attention. There was a 20-year study published in Current Biology that looked at over 732,000 fatal crashes nationwide. They found a 6% increase in fatal accidents right after the springtime change. That is a measurable spike. And beyond the fatalities, there's a jump in serious life-changing crashes. The reason is simple: sleep disruption. People are tired. Reaction times slow down. So make sure you are driving safely. But if you get into a car accident, call the Herald Car Law offices immediately. It can save you time, stress, and money when dealing with insurance companies that aren't exactly eager to write big checks. This local firm handles auto and truck accidents, wrongful death, bad faith insurers. When you're facing medical bills, repair costs, lost wages, or non-economic damages, you don't have to fight alone. CarLaw.com. C-A-R-R, 2 R's in car. CarLaw.com. Car accident? Call CAR.
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters, a show that covers everything having to do with your home. Tune in every Saturday from 2 to 3 on Seattle Red, where you'll hear from local business owners who are experts in their industries. From foundation to flooring, roofing and windows, furniture and financial planning, it's everything in and around your home, and we've got you covered here on Home Matters. If it matters to you, it matters to us here at Home Matters. Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
John Curley here. Did you know a new heat pump is a smart choice for total home comfort? That's right. One heat pump does the work of a furnace and air conditioner. And if your system's over 12 years old, it's on borrowed time, and it could be costing you up to 20% more than today's ultra-efficient models. Get heating and cooling for the price of AC. Visit HomeComfortAlliance.com for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical. Call the comfort people. Home Comfort Alliance. HomeComfortAlliance.com.
The stock market was on fire in 2025 due to AI and tech stocks. Now is the time to set a strategy for 2026. It's a good opportunity to lock in those gains and invest into a stable platform. With $8 trillion in cash sitting on the sidelines, investors are either scared or unsure where to go. Hi, I'm Scott Rurecka, CEO of Legacy Group Capital in Bellevue. Legacy Group Capital develops local real estate, lends money, and shares the profits with our investors. Diversify with Legacy Group Capital. Invest into our Northwest Fund, which is currently delivering 9% on a fixed rate term. It's our flagship fund for 19 years with zero investor losses. And yes, we do accept IRAs. Find out why 1,300 local investors have invested over $350 million.
Legacy Group Capital at legacyg.com. This is not investment advice. Investments available to accredited investors only. Details at legacyg.com.
The Jason Rantz Show.
Bring in Jason Rantz, Seattle Red 770 AM host, and also SeattleRed.com. Jason, great to have you with us.
Jason, Seattle is just continually ground zero.
Yeah, and this is really the Pacific Northwest is ground zero for all this nonsense.
USA Today is mocking the far left.
The Quick Hit.
Right before the weekend, we got word, and I had just left CNN when this had happened, that employees there were alarmed that Netflix pulled out of the bidding war for Warner Brothers, effectively clearing the way for a takeover by Paramount Skydance, which is run by David Ellison, who is seen as a Trump supporter, or at least at a bare minimum Trump friendly. And I say that because honestly, I don't even know. I know that there are some who are, clear as day Trump supporters and conservative. Otherwise, I look at them and I say, well, are you pretending to be right now? I have no thoughts either way on David Ellison. I don't live in that world. I don't really know those tech giants all that well. I just know that he's undoubtedly been successful at trying to turn Paramount Skydance around. And I think that Warner Brothers Discovery is in need of a turnaround. Now, the reporting on Friday was that a bunch of current CNN employees say that there's a panic happening in the building. The Hollywood Reporter had some reporting on Friday, but then I saw that NBC News had talked to 7 current employees. I'm not sure what their roles are, but they also said that they were scared and concerned, described the mood inside of CNN as shaken and depressing. The offer from Paramount, formally signed into an agreement Friday afternoon, still has to go through the Department of Justice regulators. Democrats, including, I believe it was the first one I saw was the senator from Connecticut, Chris Murphy, who's always got a hot take on something, essentially saying that the second they have power in the Senate, they're going to break up the quote-unquote monopoly. And beyond that, the folks over at CNN and others are worried that Paramount owning CBS News and now CNN is going to mean that there's going to be right-wing takeover of the news. And Jim Acosta, the guy formerly known as employed from CNN, thinks essentially on his podcast, he said, conservatives shouldn't even be on the news to begin with at all.
Do we want Scott Jennings anchoring the CBS Evening News?
Yes.
Or anchoring AC 360?
Yes.
Talking about what a great president Donald Trump is?
Sure.
And how he's the best president since George Washington and Abraham Lincoln?
I mean, you can hear how just like jealous Jim Acosta is. And again, the attitude is rather telling. He does not want conservatives on the news, period. And he says this without realizing he's telling on himself, because what he's essentially saying is that AC 360 or the CBS Nightly News right now is run by a liberal. Do we really want a conservative running it? So why is it okay for a liberal to host but not a conservative?
Well, I mean, what kind of crazy, Stranger Things upside down world are we going to become if that's the kind of news and information that we have pumping out over the airwaves in this country? It sounds to me that that's exactly what Donald Trump wants. All you have to do is go inside his twisted mind. I mean, just the other day, he was tweeting about sending a hospital boat to Greenland. He can't even stay awake at his own events. And this is the guy who's gonna cow these giant media properties into combining into one another and becoming propaganda arms of his administration.
This is so pathetic. It really is so pathetic. Now, I understand why anyone at any media company or any company gets nervous, gets anxious, gets depressed at a new sale, a new owner, assuming that this happens. Like, I totally get that. Because even if you are a perfect employee, you still might find yourself subject to the whims of decisions by people who don't know you and don't know the kind of work you're capable of doing, even though, there's obviously some jobs that are higher profile than others and make it a little bit easier for people to find out. But the vast majority of the people who work, whether it's at CNN or 60 Minutes or anywhere else, the reality is the vast majority of the work are being done by people you never see on television you don't know even exist. You maybe don't even have never even have heard of their job titles, right? And they are good people who work at every single company. Whether or not you like it, like the on-air product, doesn't matter. There's people who are undeniably talented at all of these networks. And that includes 60 Minutes. So I get why people are concerned. But the reality is the changes over at CNN and CBS News are well underway and have been underway for a while. And it's not necessarily, at least in CNN's case, tied directly to Paramount potentially owning it. They realized the errors of their way. And I say this, I'm not an employee of CNN, but obviously I'm on CNN a lot now. How long that lasts, I have no idea. I have no clue. But obviously I'm on a lot more. I'll be back in New York, just nonstop travel. I'll be back in New York Thursday and Friday for the big debate show, assuming Iran doesn't cancel it. And frankly, I'm assuming I'm going to get canceled this week and probably just get postponed until maybe next week or the week after because of Iran. But I'm on that station a lot now for a reason. It's because they are trying to have more conservative voices on, because I think they realize that just leaning into the anti-Trump stuff 24/7 isn't really a great business model. Now, I don't think CNN is doing it perfectly yet because, and I say this sincerely with all due respect, which I almost never say and mean, but this time I do. When I'm on, I'm still put in a position where I'm constantly on the defensive, having to defend rather than having a down the middle conversation where I happen to share my opinions and then debate them. Like the questioning is usually framed to put conservatives on the defensive. And I'm okay with that. Like I legitimately enjoy it. But, in a perfect world, we would put both sides on defensive. Not saying that I should never be put on the defensive, because I don't believe that. I enjoy that. I think that makes for really good TV. But I think both sides should have to approach stories or topics in the same way or with the same level of scrutiny that I don't think happens yet. There's still a lot of, I think, bad faith voices who are guests on every network. And they should be rooted out if you truly want fair, balanced coverage that's interesting and will get ratings. CNN is not doing well in the ratings. They're presumably going to improve their brand with more conservative voices like Scott Jennings, and hopefully with people like me. We talked about this on Friday. My segment where I called out Anna Navarro went viral. I had quite a few viral moments, unintentionally so. I didn't even set up ahead of time, like, this is what I'm going to say to go viral. Because a lot of people do that. To me, it seems like you can always tell when someone is faking a viral moment. And I don't want to seem like I'm trying to get a viral moment. I just want a viral moment to happen on its own because I happen to make a really good point, whether or not it's forceful. And my Anna Navarro segment, I wasn't particularly forceful. I wasn't yelling at her. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't get, snarky or snippy. And the same thing when I was talking with Tom Suozzi, the congressman from New York. I asked one simple question, and I didn't raise my voice. It wasn't even meant as a gotcha question. It was a legitimate question, and that thing went viral. That's what helps, I think, CNN, and that helps Fox, and that helps MS Now, all those things. Like the the honest conversations that have some conflict, sure, but show different sides to an audience. I think there's interest in that. And, I keep getting a ton of hate mail after I go on CNN, but that means what it is I'm doing is working because they're being exposed to something for the first time. And I think that is good for CNN. I think that is good for 60 Minutes and CBS News. I have zero problems about not only David Ellison, but I have zero problems with Barry Weiss in charge. Barry Weiss is a liberal. She's a classical liberal. And I think what she's doing at CBS is very beneficial to their brand. It's not perfect, and I doubt I'll ever find anyone is doing things perfectly. But I think she's doing a really good job, and her in charge at CNN, good. Give Scott Jennings his own show there. Let him do more because he's helped save the channel and give it some renewed energy. And I want to do the same thing as long as, we're able to do that in a honest way and we're respected or we're all respectful of one another. I think that's really good. I have no problem with that. And I've said this with Trace Gallagher was on for Fox News maybe 4 months ago. Maybe it might have been a little bit longer than that, but we're talking about the general media landscape. And I said, look, Fox News is better when you have better competition from MS Now and CNN and News Nation and, all the networks. When you're surrounded by people who are really good at what they do, it forces you to do better. And if you're not able to do better, you suffer in the ratings. And if you suffer in the ratings, then you might be out of a job. And so the kind of elevation that all of us are forced to reach towards when we're surrounded by talented people, I think it benefits everyone, and especially the audience. And so this, to me, is nothing but good news. Whether or not it happens, I have no idea. I have no idea what the DOJ is going to say on this. The president hasn't really weighed in on this as far as I know, but I'm not shaken by any of this. And by the way, this could mean, if this were to happen a year from now, may mean I'm no longer on the network. It might mean next week I'm no longer on the network. I still think overall that it's a good move to be made a little bit uncomfortable when you're not performing to the best of your ability. And the ratings suggest whenever someone's at last place or just sort of stagnant wherever it is they are, it means they're not living up to their potential. I think the people there at CBS News, 60 Minutes, I think they're perfectly capable of doing better work. I'm capable of doing better work. And the pressure that I feel when there are people around me who do stories better than I do, well, that doesn't happen, but almost better than I do, that give me a run for my money, yeah, that puts me in a much stronger position to feel even more motivated. And I like that. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. You're listening to The Jason Rantz Show.
Thanks for calling CM Heating. How can I help?
Yeah, hi. Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
Yep, that's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is absolutely free.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so we'll help you save the most and even handle the rebate process start to finish.
Amazing, but what if I just need a furnace?
All good. Furnaces start at just $69.99 a month. And don't forget to ask about our clean air upgrades, because with all the smoke from wildfires, these systems filter out pollen, dust, and harmful particles, keeping the air in your home clean and healthy all year long.
Sweet.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, a free furnace you'll love for years, and cleaner air for your home. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, total home comfort, and electrical service,
There's no beating CM Heating.
Hear that? That's Mike. He took ZQL Pure Z's, so now he's sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. ZQL Pure Z's are fast-acting melatonin gummies with a complementary botanical blend to help Mike get the sleep he needs to wake up refreshed and ready to conquer Monday.
Let's do this Monday.
ZQL Pure Z's, just for sleep. Really great sleep. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Use as directed.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It's a fact. When your eyes work correctly, light focuses through both your cornea and your lens to give you high-quality vision. Hi, it's Dr. Kopstein from K2 Vision. Here's another fact. As we near age 50, we begin to lose the quality and function of our natural lens. That's when we start to reach for reading glasses and contemplate those cataracts on the horizon, typically in our 70s or later, but inevitable if we get old enough. Fortunately, K2 Vision has the advanced permanent solution for both, refractive lens exchange, or RLE. K2 Vision RLE is a quick, painless procedure that restores distance and near vision permanently. Plus, another thing is permanent. You will never develop a cataract. After over 20 years replacing over 100,000 failing lenses, we will help you determine when it's your right time for RLE.
Schedule your free Zoom consult today at k2visionrle.com. K2 Vision RLE. No readers, glasses, contacts, or cataracts.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastlake, 33 BU Seattle.
It won't be a drawn-out action. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Vice President J.D. Vance repeating the message from the administration that the strikes in Iran are not the beginning of a years-long military action.
There's just no way that Donald Trump is going to allow this country to get into a multi-year conflict with no clear end in sight and no clear objective.
On Fox's Jesse Waters Primetime, President Trump has said the action will last 4 to 5 weeks or possibly more. On the Senate floor earlier today, Democratic leader Chuck Schumer was critical of the U.S. action.
Donald Trump has just launched America into a full-scale conflict against one of our most fervent adversaries without a plan, without an end game, and without authorization for Congress or even a debate in full view of the American people.
Schumer said this is a dangerous moment for our troops, the Middle East, and perhaps for the world. Iran launching attacks across the region. The U.S. Embassy in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, hit by 2 Iranian drones.
It's not clear whether that third drone managed to hit the embassy, which was basically empty at the time. Smoke and fire can be seen coming from the embassy. No injuries have been reported. Americans are being told to shelter in place in cities across Saudi Arabia.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin. The FBI investigating whether the gunman in Saturday's deadly shooting in Austin, Texas, was motivated by the U.S. strikes on Iran. 2 college students were killed.
The gunman seen in a hoodie with Property of Allah across the front and a bloody T-shirt with an Iranian flag underneath in photos obtained by Fox. Officials identify him as Njaga Junya, a 53-year-old naturalized U.S. citizen born in Senegal, living near Austin.
Fox's Brooke Taylor. The FBI says the gunman was not on their radar before the shooting. The Supreme Court has preserved the only Republican congressional seat in New York City. America is listening to Fox News.
I'm Charles Payne, and this is the Fox Business Report.
The major averages reversing earlier bigger losses and ending mixed as investors assess the conflict in the Middle East. Tech and energy stocks led the major turnaround on Monday. Oil prices jumped on worries that tensions with Iran could clog the global flow of crude. Defense stocks rallied, led by Lockheed Martin, RTX, and Northrop Grumman. ExxonMobil, Chevron, and other oil stocks rose as the price of crude oil surged. And the price of gold also popping and trading above $5,300 a troy ounce. The Dow lower by 73 points, the Nasdaq up 81, S&P 500 up 3. Cruise operators fell as investors anticipate shipping interruptions and higher fuel costs. Shares of Norwegian Cruise Line fell even more and dropped 10.5% after the cruise operator reported weaker revenue for its latest quarter. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Hillary Barsky, invested in you.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. It's out of nowhere. Had a stroke. Super hard, obviously, for the whole family, but my dad had life insurance. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com, because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test, just a few health questions. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, E-T-H-O-S, ethos.com.
The yellow light! I'm walking here!
Good afternoon and welcome to the Jason Rantz Show. We are here on Seattle Red 770 AM. We are streaming on the Seattle Red app, online at seattlered.com. We've got a ton to get to this hour, including Bob Ferguson announcing he's celebrating a history month named after a concept he can't define. What is a woman? We're going to get into that and so much more. But first, the latest out of Operation Epic Fury.
What's trending? International.
Operation Epic Fury. I don't like the title as much as I liked Midnight Hammer, but I really do like Epic Fury because that's kind of what we saw. Fury coming from the president, coming from Israel, against an evil dictatorship, a regime that was murderous, that was in it to not just disrupt the Middle East, but also the West. That's the reality. There have been some people who, of course, no matter what happens, if it comes from Donald Trump, it's automatically the worst thing in the world. And the same voices on the left and some on the right that warned us about the chaos and destruction that would happen as a result of removing Maduro from office in Venezuela, those same exact people were telling us immediately, within just about 7 hours, upon learning of what happened in Iran Friday overnight, that we're sick and tired of forever wars. That was the first talking point. That was the go-to talking point. And I remembered looking at my Twitter feed and seeing the criticism coming from the left, from the people like Senator Chris Murphy, things like that. The United States, the American people, we're sick of forever wars. We were only in it for about 7 or 8 hours. How is this a forever war? Is that just what we call anything that happens in the Middle East? We were just immediately saying it was the forever war. So I'm not entirely sure that that's delivered in good faith. Coming from Chris Murphy, I know normally senators like Chris Murphy and others, they're just so even-keeled in their measured and thoughtful criticism of this president. But man, that forever, it really got me thinking. In fact, it was Pete Hegseth earlier this morning, Secretary of War, who said, hey, dummies, it's not forever wars.
We hope the Iranian people take advantage of this incredible opportunity. President Trump has been clear, now is your time. To Iranian security forces, choose wisely. President Trump has also been clear about your fate in either direction. To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop.
And Thomas Massey.
This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes.
It seems pretty obvious why it is we did what we did. But again, let's give us all a moment to catch up on where things are. We know some of the obvious, and I'm not going to rehash everything to an absurd degree. We just know that it happened early Saturday morning, our time. It happened there in broad daylight because it just so happened that a whole bunch of Iranian leaders and the Ayatollah were either, in some cases, literally together in the same room, which seems like a mistake when you're surrounded by all of the military ships that we can fit into the region. And some were just in places that they were especially vulnerable. And connected with intel shared between the United States and Israel, we realized, this is a really good opportunity to go after all these bad guys. And it tells you, frankly, where Iranian leadership were, right? Again, that they were out in the open, quote unquote, or put in places that they can so easily be taken out, and they were all hanging out together, tells you that they did not believe anything would happen this time around. And I don't blame them for believing that. Because for how long, how many years, how many decades have they been able to get away with feckless response from not just the United States, but from the globe? How long has this been going on?
47.
Right? I mean, it is, I get where they're coming from. Like, it's just posturing. And there was reporting going into the weekend. We talked, I think I did this on CNN last Thursday, at least a little bit, that the president was kind of taken aback that Iran was not acting as if they felt threatened by the president's military moves. Yeah, well, that was a mistake. Boy, was that a mistake. And so we got a briefing earlier this morning from the Secretary of War. We also heard from General Raisin Kane. And then the president spoke, and then Marco Rubio spoke. It was funny, over the weekend I saw some of the criticism coming from folks mostly on the left. He hasn't even gone back to the White House and delivered a message to the American people about what he's doing. Like, he released 2 long videos explaining exactly what it was he was doing over the weekend. I can't believe he released a video in the middle of the morning Eastern time. Well, that's when the operation was. Had he not done a video after they had started, would you complain that he hadn't told the American people anything? So you're mad that he did the strike at a time where you were in bed? That's not his fault. Again, they acted at a time that they could take advantage of some vulnerability from the Iranian leadership. And the intent was not early in the morning. The intent actually was overnight. That was at least according to the report. But they moved everything up. Now, I don't know if it was that night that they planned to strike or the next day. Maybe it could have been tonight that the original plan was. I don't know. But the reason why they moved was because of the vulnerable position that the Iranian leadership put itself in. And that was a masterful move. That was a good decision by this president and by Israel. It was an absolute good decision. But then the bad faith people said, oh, I don't even know why we're doing this. Like, what's the end goal? There's no plan. What do you mean there's no plan? And what do you mean, what's the end goal? You don't know what the end goal. So even before I play this clip from the president who defines what's happening, and Marco Rubio who did the same thing, and you're going to get the same messaging over the course of the next several days, over and over and over again, explaining why it is they're doing what they're doing. But did we truly not know what this is about? What are just off the top of your head, what's some of the biggest threats that Iran poses to not just the United States, but the globe?
Nuclear missiles,
right? They could become a nuclear power, okay?
Even short-ranged missiles,
which they've been creating at a rate of like 100 per month, which we're not capable of shooting down. That
outpaces our missile defense.
Yeah. And that this partly is because of a vulnerability that the United States finds itself in. And obviously this gives us a little bit of time. But those are two really significant ones. Then, of course, you can look at just the more general stuff that Iran has been doing, right? You have clearly, as the leading sponsor of global terror, we're partly victims to that. Talk to some people in Texas over the weekend, right? Israel, obviously, a victim to all of this. Our maritime industry, victims to all of this. The Houthis still exist. They're not nearly what they once were, thankfully, thanks to the president, but they still exist. Hezbollah still exists. They're a shadow of what they once were, but they still exist. Well, Jay, so the president lied earlier when he said he obliterated the nuclear capabilities. No, the president didn't lie. He took out what we knew about the nuclear capabilities at the time. And how long ago was that?
8 months.
8 months, right? 8 to 9 months. And they continued to try to build their nuclear capability. And rather than give them all the time that they need to develop and develop and develop, and rather risk them developing in places that we don't even know exist. We knew about those 3 sites that we bombed 8, 9 months ago. What about all the other stuff that we might not know they're working on? That's a problem. In addition, again, to the ballistic missile production and the general posture that they were taking, that they were going to continue to put money into terrorist organizations, both in the Middle East and here in the United States. So here's the president clearly outlining the why.
Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones.
So just again, is that a valid concern that he's taking on? Is that fair? Regardless of whether or not someone is on the right or on the left, and, just I'll give you the echoes of all the Democrats, the smarter ones, I guess, who will say, the Ayatollah, Iran, he was an enemy, the country's an enemy, but ... So they're going to agree at least with the first part here, right? You can disagree with how he goes about it, fine, I guess. I don't know how else you stop them from being a threat with their missiles if you don't get rid of their production.
Pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their Navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships.
And by the way, I think that number is higher now because this was delivered. What time did he speak? 10-ish?
It was pretty early, yeah.
Or 8 o'clock, I think, our time, 8:30 our time.
They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon. Never going to have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders. And we thought we had a deal, but then they backed out. And they came back, and we thought we had a deal, and they backed out. I said, you can't deal with these people. You got to do it the right way. Today we grieve.
And you know who also heard that message today? Vladimir Putin.
China.
I mean, they also saw this.
For the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action.
6 now, unfortunately.
And send our love and support to their families. In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people.
And they very do clearly pose a threat. And again, if this was Joe Biden, this would be celebrated by the left. And frankly, it would be celebrated by the right. Outside of Thomas Massie and Rand Paul. And I don't know why, but Rand Paul doesn't bother me nearly as much as Thomas Massie does. I don't know why. I guess one seems more authentic.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Is that what it is? Just Thomas Massie is, he's aggressively stupid. And, he's one of the people who's out there, him and what's her name from The View, Anna Navarro, claim, you're not going to be able to distract us from the Epstein files. You know what? Your obsession, frankly, with the Epstein files is alarming and a little sus, as the kids might say. But no, this had nothing to do with the Epstein files. Shut up.
He's wagging the dog.
It's just just stop already. But it's interesting to see how some people are responding to this. You have the Iranian people who are celebrating on the streets, both in Iran and around the world. Iranian Americans celebrating. Iranians who, in some cases, maybe they don't like Donald Trump per se, but they understand that this is all about taking out a deeply dangerous and deadly and oppressive regime, an actual dictator, if you will. It's just absurd. And then you've got the people who pretend that this is somehow bad. And it was curious that there was in Bellevue, we'll play some of the audio a little bit later, there were some folks who took to the streets in support of the president. In Portland, there were a whole bunch more. I don't know, maybe there's a larger population of Iranian Americans in Portland. I have no idea. But they were celebrating, and KATU was there to film.
What we're witnessing is not just a political shift. This represents hope and dignity for Iranians.
It's the Renaissance. This is the Renaissance, believe me.
It's been almost 50 years that globally people can't come to Iran. They are happy, they're dancing, they're celebrating. Yep. They want this change. We wanted the end to the violence, and we were willing to take that at any price we could get.
And there's a whole lot of support for Trump and the great evil Bibi Netanyahu, the one who I'm told is the little Satan.
Mr. Trump, we love you. Bibi, we love you. Bibi, we love you.
Okay, that's very great. And then you come to Seattle. Yeah.
Boots on the ground, the bombs in the air. U.S. out of everywhere.
Okay, yeah. It's remarkable. And again, not all of them, but many of them are the white privileged kids who live with their parents in Kirkland and on Mercer Island and in Bellevue. That's who we're talking about here. They're the ones screaming death to America. They were out in full force. Nate Friedman, an independent journalist out of New York, he followed a bunch of people who set up camp in Times Square with professionally designed signs, like within minutes of this. It tells you what's going on here. The people who celebrated, they weren't planning these kinds of rallies every day, just like, okay, today might be the day. That was organic. The others are not. And it's the overlap of the anti-Semites who took to the streets, who were bashing Israel, going after Hamas. It's the same group of people that end up getting legitimized by left-wing media. Como covered this, and I think King 5 did. They probably all covered the anti-American. I don't even. How else do you characterize the protests? The pro-Iranian regime protests,
anti-Western,
Why are we legitimizing these people? The ones who show up are not taking some sort of nuanced point on, foreign policy. They're not out there saying, we hated the Ayatollah. We're glad to see him gone. We hate the Iranian regime and how oppressive it is. However, ... we don't approve of this kind of foreign policy posture. Okay, I'll have that conversation as much as I clearly disagree with it. The people who are out there, they support the Iranian regime. And we're pretending that these are normal activists. They're not. I think that they count as domestic terrorists. It is, again, truly remarkable how some people want to respond. And then at the global level, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, he did an interview this morning on Fox News applauding the president.
Let me also say that the commander-in-chief, the leader of the free world, President Donald J. Trump, I really commend what is happening here. Taking out Khamenei, taking out the nuclear capability in Iran, but also...
And by the way, not just taking out Khomeini, but like almost everyone underneath him, including some of the people who are like, yeah, I guess if he took over, he'd be okay. Let's take our chances with that. Oh, no, we killed him too? Oh, he's out? I mean, we went after Ahmadinejad. I have not said that guy's name or attempted to spell it in years. Mehdi Hassan, the former MSNBC loser, now just current unemployed loser, goes on Twitter saying, this is the equivalent of going after former President George Bush. He's a civilian. This is a war crime. I mean, spare me.
Taking out the ballistic missile program in Iran. This is crucial. And what I see in Europe, I spoke with all the key European leaders over the weekend, is widespread support for what the president is doing, and also making sure that when it comes to logistics, access, defending key U.S. interests in Europe and in the region, the Europeans are really stepping up.
Now, Iran is obviously retaliating. And I don't want to dismiss, of course, 6 Americans killed, and they can't be simply dismissed as a casualty of war. But at the same time, it's also true that, and I made this point last week on CNN, we overstate and have overstated the military might and threat posed by Iran for decades. And to me, after their attempt to retaliate against Israel, what was, again, 8-ish months ago, that was a massive failure. Oh, we're going to send some drones that you can see coming your way over the course of 8 hours and easily be able to knock them out. 1 or 2 got through. I don't even remember if there were any casualties. There was definitely some injuries. There might have been a handful of casualties. But when I saw that response, I knew that everything even I believed about the potential military threat coming from Iran was wrong. And what we're seeing right now makes that point. Now, perhaps some of it is because they don't have any, significant leadership in play because they're mostly dead. Some of this is just automated. I was listening to some of the coverage over the weekend. They've got automated systems that are designed to just fire almost indiscriminately, which is perhaps why they're going after some Muslim countries, which is a massive mistake, as it turns out. Did you know that Saudi Arabia and like Jordan, they don't want to be hit by Iranian missiles?
Even the Palestinian Authority condemned it. It's like, wow.
The only thing left is like the Houthis will put out a tweet, say, hey, just for nothing, but let's be a little bit more responsible and stop indiscriminately firing. You're giving us a bad look. We indiscriminately fire against Jews, but that's about it. So it seems to not be working out for them very well. But we did learn today that Fox News is saying cleric Ayatollah Alireza Arafi has been tapped as interim leader of their council following the death of Ali Khamenei, and he's considered a hardliner, which you must be in order to take on a job that you'll likely be killed in the next 24 hours or so. So, I mean, no one will ever say he's not a believer. He's not really passionate about hating the West, hating Jews and hating Americans. But he's a senior figure in Iran's religious establishment. He has led the seminary system. He served in the Guardian Council. He's held a seat in the Assembly of Experts, which is that they're not as expert as you might think. It's just they're really good at hating Jews and Americans. And he's, a name in the clerical world in Iran, but, okay. Good for him. We'll take him out too. The end goal here is not, we heard this from Pete Hegseth earlier today, that this is not regime change, but the regime is changing. And that's a good way to put this. The goal isn't regime change in the traditional sense, meaning we're not going to go in and hand pick people. We certainly don't want some and we want others, right? But this is on the Iranians. And the president, about a month ago, he drew a line in the sand. He drew his red line. And he said to the Iranian people who were standing up on the streets, pushing back against their government, that we're going to have their backs. Iran's, at the time, Ayatollah ordered the death via the IRGC of over 30,000 Iranians, scores more put in jail over their uprising. And we told them that we would have their backs. And it was during a commercial break on CNN where we were talking about this, because we had talked about this on air. And I don't remember who, but one of the panelists kind of said, and it would appear that we crossed the red line and we have no response. And I said, I wish this was on TV, because I said, did you look in the sea around? Like, we're clearly setting up to back them. What are you talking about? And then 2 days later, this ends up happening. 2 days later. It was obvious that this is where it was going to happen. The timing we didn't know, but it was obvious that this was going to happen. And now it's about getting the public on the president's side. The polling suggests that the American people are not on his side, which I'm not surprised by, because there are people who think we have boots on the ground. In fact, there are Democrats who want you to think that we have boots on the ground, and we intend to have boots on the ground. And, earlier, Pete Hegseth, he wouldn't say categorically, under no circumstance would there be boots on the ground, because his response to a question was, I'm not going to tell you what our plan is. That would be stupid to tell you what our plan is. But it's also, we know that there's not going to be boots on the ground. And the president has already said that. But now, he won't rule it out. Well, in the context of not ruling out literally anything because he doesn't want to tell our enemies what it is we're thinking, I guess it's right. But they're trying to confuse people. The average person has no idea what's going on or why. And that's why over the course of the next week to several weeks, you're going to hear nothing but, the administration making the case over and over and over again. And I get that there's some Republicans who think America first means isolationism. That's not what America first means. This is America first. Our security is first. Well, they're just doing it because AIPAC is buying. Okay, just spare me all the anti-Semitic nonsense. And yes, you're an anti-Semite if you spread that stupid claim. 1-800-465-8770 for your text messages. 1-800-465-8770. The Wall Street Journal is calling out Washington Democrats yet again. Plus, Bob Ferguson is celebrating something he's not willing to define. We'll get into that and so much more when we come back on the Jason Rantz Show.
This is the story of the one. As a procurement manager for a hospital system, she keeps every facility in her network stocked and ready. That's why she counts on Grainger to be her single source for thousands of products, from disinfectants to lighting, air filters, and more. And with fast, dependable delivery, Grainger helps her keep every facility stocked, safe, and running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to A to Z Savings, our biggest sale of the year.
Happy to be here. Can I get some rotors?
Would you like brake pads with that?
How much are the brake pads?
Free with Duralast rotors.
Free? Really?
Really? Free.
I also need some oil.
Would you like an oil filter with that?
Yeah. How much is that?
Free with the oil.
Free? Really?
Really. Free. It's part of A to Z Savings with hundreds of deals.
From A to free.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Ends March 9. Restrictions apply.
John Curley here. Last year was one of the hottest on record. Did you know a heat pump from Home Comfort Alliance gives you efficient heating and cooling year-round for the price of paying for air conditioning? Don't wait. Call the comfort people. Home Comfort Alliance. HomeComfortAlliance.com.
Hey, this is Pete from Home Matters. Tune in this weekend when we'll talk with local business owners about everything in and around your home. Join us on Saturdays from 2 to 3 right here on Seattle Red, or listen to the podcast on mynorthwest.com.
Do you like helping others? Become a Shiva volunteer. In Lewis County, join the hundreds of volunteers across Washington state who help over 90,000 people each year with their Medicare options and questions. You don't have to know Medicare. We'll teach you. And if you're bilingual, even better. For more information and how to apply, call Shiva at 1-800-562-6900 or go to insurance.wa.gov.
Sponsored by the Office of the Insurance Commissioner and aired by the Washington State Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Nick, did you know this is called quit time? Did you know what that is?
I do not know.
That means right about this time of the year, people quit their New Year's resolutions.
Oh, kind of like last year.
Okay, never mind. The important thing is that both of us made a New Year's resolution that we would take better care of ourselves for each other. And we're holding to that.
We are not flaming out because...
Longevity Medical Clinic. So we get the support of Longevity. We told them what our goals were, and they're like, absolutely, we'll get you in line. So they support me, they support you, and then as a couple, they're making us accountable for the decisions we make. So we're not going to be quitting on these things. I can't remember what your New Year's resolution was around the house.
My New Year's resolution around the house was that I was going to try to get you to start putting things away.
And I was going to get you to actually learn how to cook a piece of chicken.
Oh, well, that's for next year.
Okay, fine. Either way, we've got a team behind us. Do what Nick and I have done. Take a free health analysis at lmclinic.com. That's lmclinic.com.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the DayQuil.
Undo your flu symptoms with DayQuil Intense Flu. DayQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. March is a big month for Jackson. Huge fan of women's history. He's just going on about Susan B. Anthony and Harriet Tubman, which I think is a little bit of a conflict. I feel like that should be put into February, but nonstop.
Yep.
Nonstop. Talking about what's her name from Planned Parenthood.
Oh, Margaret Sanger?
He won't shut up about it.
It's the only thing bigger than March Madness. I love college basketball, but definitely women's
pales
history.
in comparison.
To Women's History Month.
I mean, come on. I lose track of the months that are meant to celebrate, whatever it is. There's a Jewish American History Month. I think it's May or April. Look that up. Or Jewish Culture Month, something like that. I didn't even know we had it until last year, which is why I don't even remember when it is. Although in this country, I sincerely doubt that anyone actually celebrates that, certainly not in the Seattle area.
Yep, it's May.
It's May. And I don't know. I don't feel like my people need a month. Every day to me is Jewish Heritage Day. I don't need a month. But I saw on Twitter last night Bob Ferguson next to his wife who looks like Bob Ferguson.
Okay, I'm glad I didn't have to say it. But yeah, it's like him with a wig on, basically.
It is kind of remarkable. And I don't mean that in an insulting way, and I don't mean like she's trans. That's not what I mean. She looks like his sister. They both have that really nerdy look with the glasses and the clothes. It's just kind of funny. But they're doing a video for Women's History Month, which I found ironic.
Hi, I'm Washington State Governor Bob Ferguson.
You're posting it on your Twitter feed. You don't have to introduce yourself as Washington's Governor Bob Ferguson.
And I'm First Lady Colleen Ferguson.
Oh, we assumed that you were a Ferguson for sure.
Happy Women's History Month.
Back in...
Is she being held hostage? I know he's just naturally awkward. She's just uncomfortable.
1908 in Washington State, a woman by the name of Dr. Cora Smith Eden literally took a banner that said "Votes for Women" and climbed Mount Rainier to support women's suffrage.
And just 1 year later, Washington women earned the right to vote.
That was a decade before we adopted the 19th Amendment. So on behalf of my wife, Colleen, and the entire Ferguson family, we wish all of you a really wonderful Women's History Month.
The irony of a man who either can't or won't define a woman posting this is very, very, very thick. That's what's funny about this. And I couldn't have been the only person who noticed that. This is a guy who politically either cannot or will not define a woman while then celebrating Women's History Month, so people will look at him and give him, I guess, some extra points for the symbolism over substance. And how do you think he's going to be commemorating Women's History Month? What do you think he's going to be doing? This video, I'm assuming there might be some roundtable with powerful independent women that he'll pretend to be interested in, and then maybe a press release or two over the course of the next month. Anyone on any side of any issue in any month, when they say they're celebrating, no, they're not. They're not. They really aren't. Again, this is a man claiming to support women's history while backing a party that can't offer a clear, consistent definition of what it is they're celebrating, because that clarity might upset the base of their party. And upsetting the activists that they rely on to keep them in power and then post-power keep them wealthy might cost him too much. And there's not going to be a single news outlet who shows up to whatever press event he holds this month pretending to care about this, who will say, hey, can you define what a woman is? There won't be a single press outlet, except, again, I'm not counting like Jonathan Show or Brandy Cruz, or if I was ever bored enough to show up to one of these things. Don't worry, guys, I'm not. You don't have to deny me a press pass. I don't want one right now. But outside of them, Como and King 5, it's Seattle Times, News Tribune, Spokesman Review, they're not asking him to explain how he can claim to support women's rights while simultaneously working to erase women by pretending that biological males are exactly the same as women. And when it comes to actually defending policies that truly affect women, man, he suddenly gets murky about his celebration of women. Isn't that weird? When it comes to shared locker room spaces, all of a sudden he's not really celebrating women. When it comes to females competing against other females, girls against girls versus boys, all of a sudden, not really putting out that video celebrating women's history and everything they fought for. Only have some dweeb step in and say, oh, actually, this space is also for biological men. If he put the interests of actual women ahead of the loudest activists within his own party, if he shut down the loudest people on social media who pretend a boy can be a girl, then you know what? I'd give him a little bit of credit for standing up to his party. He'd be like the nerdy John Fetterman. But no, he's unwilling to do that. And so why do people just give him credit for this kind of garbage? Don't give him credit for this. All this deserves is ridicule. That's it. That's all it deserves. Speaking of ridicule, Washington Democrats over the weekend, again on the House side, they move forward with their budget. They're still debating the income tax, which is obviously unconstitutional. Before the weekend, Washington State Standard had some story about how Bob Ferguson is continuing to pretend that he doesn't support the current income tax, even though it doesn't matter, because even if he were to veto it, they can just overcome that veto. But the debate still goes on, and it's not a debate that we think we're going to win. We know we're going to lose this debate in Olympia. The debate is about putting a spotlight on this issue so that Washington voters are aware of what's happening. Even on this issue, as much as the media has obviously covered it, they're not covering it in overdrive, right? They're not giving it as much coverage as it deserves. And they're not hearing from the average lawmaker on the right calling this out, or the average lawmaker on the left pretending that what they're doing is somehow just, which is what Charlotte Mena, the Democrat from Tacoma, is trying to pretend.
It ensures that we have the resources to invest in early learning, childcare, public education, healthcare, food assistance, and workforce development programs.
But you have the funding. You just added $2 billion to your budget. We don't need that. You are not cutting anything. And of course, what they don't explain is how they're going to make up for the funds once all the millionaires leave. Because their end result, they know, is deeply unpopular, which is to tax everyone. You start with the millionaires and billionaires, then you go to someone who makes more than $250,000 a year, then you go to $100,000, then you just put it upon everyone. That is clearly their end goal. Here's State Representative Cindy Jacobson, the Republican from Puyallup.
Capital flight is not a myth. people who make this kind of money are able to leave. They often have domiciles in other states that they can just change their address to.
And kudos to folks like Brian Haywood, who, when he testified a couple weeks against this millionaire tax, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but he's like, I know how to structure my money so I'm not impacted by this. Like, I know what to do here. So you're not collecting it from me. So where are you going to make up for those funds? Because remember, they are basing their budget on monies that haven't been collected. And again, their end result is to get in front of the Supreme Court, Washington Supreme Court, and have them redefine what property is so that they can go ahead and institute a tax against everyone. That is their end goal.
That's what we're doing. We're causing the innovators and the people who hire people to have to leave this state.
They don't think, despite all of the evidence that this is real and all of the actual people who left, they don't think this one will do anything more. Or to quote, who did we play last week? A majority leader. What's his name?
Oh,
his name escapes me for some reason.
Fitzgibbon?
No, the other one.
Peterson.
Yes, thank you. Jamie, the other dweeb on the Senate side, the House. You know, he did that interview on CNBC that essentially said, the people who are going to leave, they already left. Which I don't think he thought through when he said it, but that's really what clearly they didn't all leave. But you're making it really easy for them to. And whether it's Peterson or Fitzgibbon or Mena or any of the other Democrats who want to pretend that the reality isn't the reality, they're going to wake up and realize that the end goal of taxing everyone won't go on their own timeline. They're going to have to do that quicker than they otherwise plan to, which is going to hurt them even more. Janice Zahn, Democrat from Mercer Island, she was one of the Democrats that voted to pass an amendment banning sales tax on items like diapers. So even when they were given opportunities from Republicans to give a little bit of a pass to working families, she's all like, I mean, I guess I'll do it, but Democrats don't want to do it, and what do I do?
And just make it easier for everyday people to be able to pay for food and not have to make choices between food, rent, and diapers.
Didn't she lose that vote, though? Ed Orcutt from Kalama. I'll pretend to be very familiar with Kalama. Kalama Harris, he's a Republican. Speaking to Como, said the people don't want an income tax no matter what income tax bracket they happen to find themselves in. Can't you get this through your thick heads?
People are opposed to any form of an income tax, no matter how it's put forth, no matter who it's written initially to affect. My constituents don't believe it will ever stay as it's being presented today.
Does anyone actually think this is only going to stay with the millionaires? I mean, honestly, even the Democrats out there who are supporting this because they hate success, even they have to understand that this is going to impact everyone, right? Right? I refuse to believe that they're that dumb. They might be evil, but they're not all dumb. Well, they're dumb, but they're not that. Well, no, never mind. Maybe they are that dumb. 1-800-465-8770 if you want to send me a text. 1-800-465-8770. We have intern Duncan, our 11-year-old, pouring through the many, many, many hours of deposition video from Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton from last week. He's pulled some gems for us. We'll play them when we return, including Hillary Clinton storming out after she got photographed by Lauren Boebert, that dum-dum. They're both two dummies. We're going to get into the really funny audio when we come back on the Jason Rantz Show.
You're losing your hair and you simply need a solution that works. You want the best. Modern technology, top-rated physicians, something that's guaranteed to work. Guys, you need world-class Dr. Perungo and his team at Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration. From the experience itself to their unmatched results. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, maybe all three like I had. Get your hair back with Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment that begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day. Advanced Hair has changed tens of thousands of lives, including mine. And get this, Advanced Hair is once again the winner of the 425 Business of the Year. For your free consultation, call 425-449-8185. Right now, you'll get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. Refine your hairline with the team that redefined hair restoration. That's 425-449-8185. Or for the before and afters, visit advancedhair.com.
Hey, it's Jason Rantz. I'm here with our local tax expert and advocate, Greg Nunn from None Better Tax Resolution. What is something someone can do right now to protect themselves from being on the wrong side of the IRS?
It's really pretty simple, and that is do it right. File on time and pay on time. Yet things do get in the way, like we know. And if you have situations where you're feeling a little concerned about what's in your tax return, get some professional help. And there is a group or a class of people that just think they can put anything they want in their tax return. And they think they are being smarter than the government. It's kind of like the person, the narcissist that thinks they're smarter than everybody else and they're going to get away with it. They will maybe for a while, but the time will come. There will be a day of reckoning.
If you're having trouble with the IRS, then call Greg Nunn. None Better Tax Resolution. From stress to success with IRS solutions. 425-947-1967 or Google NUNN. None Better Tax Resolution.
Doctors King and Kopstein from K2 Vision.
If you're over 50 and you've been diagnosed with a cataract, or your vision is changing as you're developing an early cataract, you could be a perfect candidate for K2 Vision RLE.
It's inevitable. At some point, typically in your 60s or 70s, you'll have a dysfunctional lens that eventually becomes a cataract. To restore your vision, you will someday need a procedure such as refractive lens exchange.
The question is, are you done with glasses? Do you want to spend your good, active years hassling with changing prescriptions and needing readers?
K2 Vision RLE can give you great vision now, permanently, and you'll never develop that cataract. The procedure is quick and painless, and our state-of-the-art custom lens technologies give highly predictable outcomes.
K2 Vision doctors have performed over 150,000 procedures. They know when it's your right time for RLE. Schedule your free Zoom consult today at k2visionrle.com. K2 Vision RLE. No readers, glasses, contacts, or cataracts.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the DayQuil.
Undo your flu symptoms with DayQuil Intense Flu. DayQuil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
DayQuil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance tech at a university, he knows ordering from multiple suppliers takes time away from keeping their arena up and running. That's why he counts on Grainger to get everything he needs, from lighting and HVAC parts to plumbing supplies, all in one place. And with fast, dependable delivery, he's stocked and ready for the next tip-off. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome back to the Jason Rantz Show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really do appreciate it. We started to get some of the video released today of the two depositions, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, from last Thursday and Friday. By the way, as I told you last week, all the Democrats joined the Republicans in voting for Bill Clinton to testify under oath. And I believe only 3 of the Democrats joined all the Republicans on Hillary Clinton. I agree that the Hillary Clinton decision here was mostly political from the left, but not entirely political. Why might you talk with Hillary Clinton despite I've not heard any allegations of any kind of wrongdoing? There certainly haven't been any emails that even out of context could paint that picture. Well, it's because her husband does have a close connection to Epstein, and she might know some details about that. Ghislaine Maxwell had connections to Hillary Clinton, even if they were loose. And I think that it's worth asking those questions. But I certainly believe that it was more political than not. I don't think it was as political with Bill Clinton. All of this becomes political, I suppose, to a degree. But not helping the cause was Lauren Boebert, who I get so frustrated with her. I've interviewed her a number of times. I've met her a number of times when I was doing the sort of CPAC circuit. As far as I know, slept through the night fine without any breathing disturbances. But on air, on screen, she can come off as very dopey and partisan hacky. She really can. Off air, she's very smart. Every time I had a conversation with her off air, I was getting frustrated. I'm like, why aren't you acting like this when the microphone is on? Like, she has a firm grasp on a lot of the issues, and she speaks with clarity. And if she did that more often, I think she would be taken more seriously. And there was a time where Lauren Boebert was kind of all over television and getting a whole lot of coverage. And then she kind of just went away, kind of like the Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, like that whole group, Paul Gosar. They all kind of just were pushed aside. Thankfully, better for us. Some of them still in Congress, others not. But she decided to take a photo of Hillary Clinton being deposed, and she argues that when she did it and posted it, it was before the proceedings even started. But that was obviously against the rules, or at a bare minimum, the spirit of the rules. And now we've got, and Duncan pulled this immediately. I don't even know how he found this. I think he just cheated and went to Mediaite or Gravian or something. But our 11-year-old intern spotted this clip and jumped on it as Hillary storms out of the room as her lawyers get very upset.
Being released of the secretary as she is testifying from inside this room. Can you please advise me as to whether or not that's permissible and consistent with the rules, particularly given that we have asked for a public hearing? If there are photos that are being released of the secretary as she is testifying.
But I also love it. We called for a public hearing on a recorded segment that was going to be released to the public within about a day and a half.
Can you please explain how that
I'm done with this. If you guys are doing that, I am done. You can hold me in contempt from now until the cows come home. This is just typical behavior.
We will go off the record.
I'm outraged.
So I would like to understand how that's permissible.
Before the hearing was...
It doesn't matter. We all are abiding by the same rules.
I will take that down.
Yeah,
So
well...
I would like to take a break at this moment.
Yeah,
I'd like to have
I'm
a conversation.
done for now.
Well, she was back about an hour later. Lauren Boebert comes off as weak and stupid in that clip. Oh, I'll take it down. I'll take it. How did she not realize that was going to cause a problem? That's why she secretly took the photo. And again, it makes this look even more political, which is not a good look. And then she's the one who was asking about Pizzagate. And ironically, if she were just a little bit smarter, she could have made this into is this why we're talking about Pizzagate? Because of the Epstein files? Was this the impetus for whomever started that vile rumor and conspiracy? No, she didn't make it sound that way at all.
In past public statements, as in 2017 speeches and interviews, you described Pizzagate as a baseless conspiracy theory, alleging you and others ran a child sex trafficking ring from a Washington pizzeria basement. Have you reviewed any 2025-2026 Epstein files that were released that you believe reference or relate to those specific 2016 claims?
Now, again, I think I know what she's doing here. And I'm not even all that upset with pinning what happened with, I think what she's trying to say was, did this phony conspiracy come out of something true from the Epstein files? Meaning Pizzagate is nonsense, but was it based in some truth as to what was going on with the Epstein files? I think that's what she meant. And that's not an awful question. I don't know why you're asking Hillary the question. I don't know why you're asking it in that way. And that's where she gets into the most trouble.
Regarding the Podesta emails, Comet Ping Pong Pizza used as code possibly?
I'm sorry.
You're asking her about whether she's reviewed emails in the Epstein files was related to the wacky Pizzagate scam.
You could characterize it however you want. I just would like to know if
it's
she's
wacky,
familiar with any of them.
So excuse me, your question is about whether or not she has reviewed any emails in the Epstein release files about Pizzagate.
Correct.
Pizzagate was totally made up. It was an outrageous allegation that ended up hurting a number of people, that caused a deranged young man to show up with his assault rifle and shoot up a local pizzeria. I can't believe you're even referencing it. You should be...
There are connections to the language.
Well, the QAnon people believe there are. So
I don't know what QAnon people believe.
Have at it.
Yes, you do.
But you've accused...
You know exactly what QAnon people believe. Well, I don't understand why you would do that. Again, knowing this is going to be public, why lean into that without any clear direction? Now, Duncan watched a little bit more of the video, which, by the way, for an 11-year-old, was able to pick out some really good clips. He got a Bill Clinton one we'll play in the next hour. Good on him for being able to spot these clips. In retrospect, I don't know if we should put an 11-year-old on an Epstein Files.
Is that
related.
appropriate?
Well, first of all, you're the one who made that decision, not me. I asked you to pull the video.
Well, I got a lot of work to do. Okay.
All I'm saying is
delegate.
You could have delegated something else and maybe put 2 and 2 together.
Well, the other
and say,
thing, the other stuff required more,
nuance, understanding of. He's
experienced hands.
Well, just saying he's rather astute. But let's have you handle this stuff from now on. Tell him to stop watching the clips. He's weirdly interested in the deposition. Although I will say I am too. It's like between the two of the videos, it's like 10 hours. So there's a lot. It's Jason Rantz Show.
Meet Lee Platts, a renter whose possessions fill not only her apartment, but also the darkest corners of a mini storage unit. A land of both truth and fiction. Truth, everything inside is protected by Progressive. Fiction, one day Lee will fit into her clothes from senior year of high school. Renters, discover coverage for what you love and what you can't get rid of in Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers.
Tired of hearing scary radio ads about the IRS? Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000 or $500,000, we have a solution. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS with zero risk to you. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a BBB. End your tax nightmare today by visiting TRA.com or call 800-583-6681. That's 800-583-6681.
Thanks for calling CM Heating.
Aren't you the company that gives away free furnaces?
That's us. Buy a qualifying high-efficiency cooling system and the furnace is free.
Wow.
Yeah, and our home comfort advisors are tax credit and rebate specialists, so they'll handle the rebate for you.
Go to CM Heating for better comfort, lower bills, and a free furnace you'll love for years. Get your free estimate for furnace replacement at cmheating.com. And remember, for furnaces, fireplaces, hot water, and total home comfort, including electrical,
there's no beating CM Heating.
Be a part of all the excitement at Beasley Coliseum this year. Come cheer on the Washington State Cougars men's and women's basketball teams as they host the likes of Gonzaga, St. Mary's, and Oregon State in conference play this season. Don't miss out on all the action. Grab your tickets to upcoming WSU basketball games today at WSUCougars.com/tix. Again, that's WSUCougars.com/TIX. See you at Beasley Coliseum. Go Cougs!
Jason Rantz on Fox News.
Seattle just made it harder for ICE to do its job. Perfect time to bring in our Seattle guy. That would be Jason Rantz.
They can't exchange any information, cooperate in any way, shape, or form with federal immigration law. They've been open about their ideological position here, and as you and I have talked about many times, they make no distinction between criminal illegal immigrants who are dangerous and everybody else.
The Jason Rantz Show every afternoon from 3 to 7 on Seattle Red. Bookmark SeattleRed.com now for exclusive content.
Hey, Jason Rantz here. Losing 1 hour of sleep might not sound like a big deal, but it is. With daylight saving time coming up, drivers need to pay attention. There was a 20-year study published in Current Biology that looked at over 732,000 fatal crashes nationwide. They found a 6% increase in fatal accidents right after the springtime change. That is a measurable spike. And beyond the fatalities, there's a jump in serious life-changing crashes. The reason is simple: sleep disruption. People are tired. Reaction times slow down. So make sure you are driving safely. But if you get into a car accident, call the Herald Car Law offices immediately. It can save you time, stress, and money when dealing with insurance companies that aren't exactly eager to write big checks. This local firm handles auto and truck accidents, wrongful death, bad faith insurers. When you're facing medical bills, repair costs, lost wages, or non-economic damages, you don't have to fight alone. CarLaw.com. C-A-R-R. 2 R's in car. CarLaw.com. Car accident? Call CAR.
Call or click 811 before you dig. Anything that causes you to roll up your sleeves a little and dig in requires you to first connect with 811. Call or click 811 and visit safeexcavator.com.
Hair Volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and newnordicusa.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Seattle Red on 770, the Seattle Red app, and seattlered.com. Seattle Red on 770 KTTH Seattle, 97.3 KIRO FM, HD3 Tacoma Seattle, 94.5 K233 DT Eastway 33 BU Seattle.
Live from the Table Kitchen and Bar at Palouse Ridge Golf Club in Pullman, this is the Cougar Basketball Hour. Tonight's show is presented by Crimson and Gray. Visit them at 1096 Southeast Bishop Boulevard in Pullman or find them at every Cougar Basketball Hour this season. Crimson and Gray, proud supporter of